Welcome to the Balls Talk Sports NFL podcast. I am Elson Gratz, joined by my co-host Victor Ratliff, and today we're bringing you our guys. One guy for every position. It's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see how our process varies. Just dudes that we want to shout out. I'm really excited for it. Victor, how are we feeling?
We're feeling great. I mean, this is one of these episodes you look forward to all year. Now, of course, we've never done this episode because this is our first year doing draft content. But it's an episode we're going to be looking forward to every year.
It feels like this is what my life has been leading up to.
Exactly.
Like, this is what I want to major in. When people would ask me as a kid, what do you want to do when you grow up? I would say, I want to do a My Guys episode on the Balls Talk Sports NFL podcast. And look where we are now.
Dreams are coming true right now. We've been ball knowers since birth. They say, what do you want to major? What are you majoring? They say, what are you majoring in? I say some bullshit like math. Right? But they never ask, what do you want to major in? I say, ball knowledge. I want to major in ball knowledge. And that's what we're doing in the Balls Talk Sports podcast. We're majoring in ball knowledge here. If you'd like to become another ball knowledge major, subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to Studio 151. Subscribe to our YouTube. Subscribe to our Instagram page. Or follow our Instagram page. Follow Psychics on Instagram to become a true ball knower. And, yeah.
So, on that note, Victor, are we ready to get kinky?
Let's get kinky. This is probably the kinkiest we're going to get all year.
I would definitely agree.
This is a kinky episode, man. We're going to get into some deep cuts. I know I've got some. I know you've got some. How does your list look as far as like consensus? Where do these guys, are most of them day 3 or most of them day 2? Kind of an even split? What are we looking at?
I think I have 2 guys that are consensus back end of day 2, and outside of that, it's all day 3. Wow. So I know we took kind of slightly different approaches. Mine is more like value and sleeper oriented. I'll open up on some of these players where, look, I know we're dealing with an imperfect prospect here. And in fact, a lot of these guys, I wouldn't even predict them being impact starters at the next level. A lot of these guys are projected UDFAs, and I think they're early to mid day 3 type of players. So big disparities between the consensus board and my board. What kind of angle did you take on your guys?
I'd say it's probably an even split between like day 3 and day 2. I don't think I have any guys that are projected to be UDFAs. Absolutely, some of these guys could not be drafted. I think all of them should be, of course. But all of them seem to be consent. If you're looking at a 7-round mock draft, most of these guys are usually going to go be drafted. I have my fair share of day 2 guys. Nobody that I think is a consensus one, except for one guy. There's one guy that is a consensus one. But we'll get to it and I'll explain it. I hope you guys can understand. But then I do have a fair share of day 3s. So it's really just about this episode's just like, man, who is a guy that you just love to watch? Doesn't have to be the best guy on the board, right? It's generally not. Usually not. You're not picking your favorite. You're not picking your the best linebacker. You're not picking the best running back. You're not saying this is number 1 guy on my board. You're saying this is the guy that I love to watch, and it seems like I don't hear as many people talk about him. I want to talk about him. I think he's better than people give him credit for. These are our gems, our my guys, our underrated special players, guys that we just love to watch. So we're just going to highlight them and have fun because this is a fun episode, and these are fun guys to watch. So, yeah, I think just an even split. I'm excited to see where you go. I'm excited to hear about some sleepers.
Do we want to start off with the quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think we start off with the traditional, the depth chart. Quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, tackle, interior line, interior defensive line, edge, linebacker, cornerback, and finish it out with safeties. Then do some long snappers.
Sounds good. Why don't you kick things off with the quarterback spot? Because this is one of the few positions that I did not go with a deep cut. When you get into the day 3 quarterbacks, it's a lot of guys that have like a 5% chance of panning out, and you're happy about that, just pure dart throws. And then pure backups, players you probably won't see for a couple of years. So I kind of have a flag to plant. I want to hear yours first.
There's a chance we have the same guy because this quarterback class is just full of guys that, right? Just a lot of guys that you just don't really care about. And this is the one guy that this is the guy for me, when I was watching him, it was just like, I get it. There's something there. When I'm watching all these, I don't watch quarterbacks much. I've never been a big quarterback guy. I love watching NFL quarterbacks, but it's hard to watch college quarterbacks, man. It's just hard, both in terms of actually evaluating it technically and just watching these guys play football. It's tough. I enjoy watching other positions more, but I do get into it, and I watch a couple day 3 guys every year. This was by far my favorite, Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. He's just a fundamental player. I mean, when you're slogging through quarterbacks, like I watched Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, and Dylan Gabriel on the same day.
Ooh, that's pretty stark.
It was a tough day. That's maybe why he's my guy. Because you watch Quinn Ewers and you watch Jalen Milroe, and it's just full of disaster after disaster happening on tape. Where it's like, you can't read a group defense. You cannot go through your progressions. You just cannot deal with the pressure. And then you watch Dylan Gabriel, and it's like, this is a breath of fresh air. If Dylan Gabriel had Jalen Milroe's arm, or Quinn Ewers' arm, I think he's probably a round 1 prospect, maybe.
He's QB1, I think.
Yeah.
I would go that far.
Like, he absolutely is, because when you talk about this guy in terms of fundamental the mentals, the processing, the reading the field, and then making the correct decision, there are few guys, if any, that are better at him in this class. He sees the field just really well, and he even sees the middle of the field well for a smaller guy. He's short. He's 5'11 and a half, 6 feet, I believe. But he sees the field really well, and he knows what he's looking at. He's an experienced starter, played in the biggest games ever. I mean, he played in the Red River, Oklahoma, Texas, and he won that game. You know what I mean? He goes to Oregon. He plays against Ohio State. He beats them, the national championship. Of course, they go to the playoffs, and they eventually lose to Ohio State, but they won. He's an experienced starter. He's played in a lot of big games, and it shows. He knows what he's looking at. He's just a good football player, incredibly accurate. Sure, he's not the biggest arm in the class. He's average to below average. He's small, and he just does not have much athleticism. Not the most mobile guy. Though, you watched that Texas game. I watched that game, Red River, a year ago, live. He was running the ball. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most elusive guy, but he's got a feel for where the open spots in the field are. And I'm not saying he's a true pocket passer. I think he can get out, and if it's the last resort, he can get out and get you a few yards. So I like Dylan Gabriel a lot. If a team took him in the 3rd round, I'm not mad, because this is just a guy you can slot in. I know you're going to be a great backup in the league. If we need to put you in a pinch, you'll do good enough for us. So, yeah, in a class full of guys who didn't seem like they knew what they were doing, Dylan Gabriel's a breath of fresh air.
I just really want Dylan Gabriel to become something.
Yeah.
Because, again, you watch him in comparison to pretty much all the other quarterbacks in this class. As far as processing and accuracy and ability to play on time, I mean, is he number 1?
He might be. I mean,
Shuck, but he's a better decision maker than Shuck, I think.
Yep.
Will Howard played in a really easy system. Kyle McCord can get through progressions, but throws the ball to the defense a lot. Those just aren't issues with Dylan Gabriel.
He's probably the cleanest quarterback prospect in this class.
And his arm is enough, I think. Yeah. It's not a bottom-of-the-barrel arm. He's got some zip on the ball. He's 5'10 and a half, 202. But he doesn't really play like it. He does work the middle of the field. I actually really like his move-throw mechanics. I think he's got enough scoot to him to play in a moving pocket play-action offense if that's the team that wants to draft him. He's just such a size outlier, and I don't like to fixate on that. But you see a 5'10 and a half, 202 quarterback, and you go, this isn't an NFL guy. I think Dylan Gabriel can be the exception and be a solid backup. It also doesn't help that he's a lefty. Cause there's just so much stigma around his overall combination of traits. But what I want to ask you is, you said you have somewhere around a 3rd to a 4th round grade on him.
I have a 4th to a 5th, but
okay,
because quarterbacks still are valuable, if you take them in the 3rd, I won't be upset. Generally, if I have a 4th through a 5th on a quarterback, if you take them in the 3rd, I'm not too upset, because I recognize quarterbacks generally go about a round earlier than their value.
Do you think he can become a starter?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think he can. There's a world out there. As you said, his arm is good enough. It's functional. I don't think he's going to be a starter that you're happy with. I doubt he's ever a top 20 quarterback in the league. But again, he can be in that Jacoby Brissett, that Ryan Fitzpatrick mold where, a team might sign him for a year just because he's a good processor. He's a good leader. I mean, raving reports about him from coaches, teammates, Oregon and Oklahoma. I mean, he leaves in the portal to go to another team, and Oklahoma, and people generally don't like that when their quarterback does that. Oklahoma still loves Dylan Gabriel, so that's another thing. It's just a guy I think he can roam around. He'll have quite a bit of years in the league. Lefty does concern me because if you're a really great quarterback prospect, I won't ding you for being a lefty because, yes, you do have to change the offense, but once the offense is changed to fit the lefty style, then it's just an NFL offense. Nothing is that different except for the fact that you're throwing the ball with the other hand. But when you're talking about a guy who's a spot starter, you're not going to change how your offense runs for a spot starter. So that'll make things a little bit harder and just another obstacle for him. But again, he's my guy just because when you've got this clean tape, I can't. He's just so different than everybody else in this class, and I really don't like this class. I'm not that excited about Gabriel as a prospect, but I'm more excited about him than everybody else in this class, so that's why he makes it for my guy.
You described him as sort of a plug-and-play type of player, and that really is what sticks out to me because went down to Mobile for the Senior Bowl and kind of outclassed everybody there, so just dropping him into an unfamiliar situation, no issues. People gush about his leadership. I know he's gotten rave reviews pretty much everywhere he's played, which is rare for a guy who's played at, 3 schools now?
UCF, Oklahoma, and Oregon.
I mean, that's not common. He's a great pair of eyes to have in the film room. I think there's going to be some demand around Dillon Gabriel, which you wouldn't say about most QB prospects his size. My final question for you is, what round did the Miami Dolphins take him in?
I think the Dolphins steal him at pick. Where are they picking?
They pick at the very back end of the third. I think they have a third-round comp.
I don't think he goes in the third. I think if I was picking, he might. If I'm a team if I'm the Chiefs, I wouldn't pick him in the third. They have a lot of needs. I probably wouldn't pick him in the third. I mean, if you do, I won't be mad at it. I probably wouldn't do it just because there's a lot of great third-round picks. But there's going to be a team that takes him at like 120 that has a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen and already in place or a Tua Tagovailoa, and you just slot him in if they get hurt, and you're just like, yeah, we still have a shot. He can be Nick Foles. He can bring us to the championship still. He's not a guy that I think, okay, Dolphins pick at 116 and 135. He will go there.
Okay, gotcha.
Dillon Gabriel will go 116, 135, 150, or 150. Damn, the Dolphins have a lot of 4th and 5th round picks. If they have 2 4ths and 2 5ths, Dillon Gabriel will be a Dolphin by April 26th.
Oh, so many 4-3 and 4-4 guys to select who won't make an impact for them.
I know.
Before I reveal my guy, do you know the story behind Tua being a lefty?
No, I do not.
He's not a natural lefty. His dad made him learn it, which is like, Father, what the fuck are you doing?
It's like forcing someone to play running back when they're an elite wide receiver.
It's exactly like that. Why are you making his life harder? I mean, I guess it builds coordination. It's just a very strange choice.
No, Tua comes in next year training camp playing as a righty, and he completely destroys the league.
He's a switch thrower. I don't know what the situational use of that is besides being a really fun novelty. But you heard the suggestion here first.
He's the Mike Conley of the NFL. You remember Mike Conley? He was ambidextrous. He could shoot with either hand. He's the Mike Conley. All right, who's your guy?
Well, you mentioned him already.
Oh, I know who it is.
It's Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
Look, I acknowledge that the tape is not good.
It's a tough watch.
Depending on the games you watch, because the highs are legitimately there. And
I agree.
The flag I'm planting is not that I think Jalen Milroe is a future NFL star. It's that I think he's being over-scrutinized because he's sort of a rushing quarterback that plays for Alabama and had some bad games with the lights on. And people treat him like he's Joe Milton. And he is not Joe Milton. I think that Milroe has a lot of legitimately good traits. I know this aspect of his game isn't always perfect, but I think he has that sort of eye in the back of his head to sense pressure. I saw that repeatedly and some ability to do something with it as well. Obviously, he's a really exceptional rushing threat, but especially on his 2023 tape, I saw some really exceptional ability to extend the play and then hit a move throw with a ton of torque behind his arm because he has a fantastic arm as well. We all know about the rushing capabilities. What did he run at his pro day? I think Brugler.
4.4s.
Yeah, Brugler had him at a 4.4, and every bit of that shows.
Oh, yeah.
He has burst. His change of direction for probably plays around 225. A 225-pound quarterback is insane. His ability to play within the pocket and then break it at will, if he can learn it, if he can develop it, is top-notch. We are kind of having a conversation over text about arm strength versus arm talent. It wasn't quite as good on his 2024 tape, and I'll circle back to this in a second. In 2023, he had the biggest or the best big-time throw rate in college football by something like 4%.
Ooh.
Let me bring this up real quick. He had a big-time throw rate of 9.1%, which is pretty
That's
insane.
really good. For context, I believe Josh Allen led the NFL in big-time throw rate this past year at 7%.
That sounds completely right. He had some really, really pretty breadbasket shots, and there were even moments where he was starting to cut it loose with anticipation. He had a very bad Senior Bowl, just dropped into an unfamiliar situation, and unlike Dylan Gabriel, was not comfortable. One thing I repeatedly heard, and I saw in some of the clips, because, it's not quite as easy to find clips of the quarterbacks throwing as it is in the 1v1s. The deep ball was absolutely there. It's almost like he's more accurate with it at times than he is throwing with touch, that he is throwing to the first level of the defense and quick game concepts, which, yeah, that tape is ugly. He doesn't have the footwork, and he has this quick, extremely violent, whippy release, and unless you're a really special type of player, it's just hard to be accurate with that. However, the reason overall that Jalen Milroe is my guy is because he is a 2-year starter with things that I think he does pretty well, that he shows potential. He's got elite physical traits. And 2024 was not just a wash. His time to throw dropped from 3.44 to 2.88. That is horrendous outlier number to something that can actually function in the NFL. Pressure to sack ratio, 31.9 to 18.5. Some of the most apparent things that you see on tape, the making bad decisions. By the way, that was on his 2023 tape as well. He's just makes some really inexplicable reads at times, and he does not see the field very well. I don't think he's like Malik Willis in terms of getting through progressions. Like, there's some of it on there. He's a young player. Reports about his work ethic and leadership are very good. He's only started 2 seasons. The reason that I think Jalen Milroe is being overhated is because people treat him like he has no chance. And if he hits, we could be talking about a top 10 quarterback. And so people talk about Milroe being a running back as well. This is the last tangent that I'll go on. I see why some people would say that, and I don't think it's ridiculous. I think if he doesn't work out as a starter, he can just be a backup because of his arm talent and rushing ability. Like, a backup is not a guy you're counting on game in and game out. You can be a quality backup like a Joe Flacco just because every other game you give your team a realistic shot to win it. You drop a good game plan around Jalen Milroe, get him in the right scheme fit, I think he can be a quality backup. So I think he has a floor to him, and I think he has a very high ceiling with not a high chance, but a chance that's worth drafting in late day 2, early day 3 to reach that upside.
I agree. I mean, if you give me the choice of Quinn Ewers or Jalen Milroe, I'm going to take Jalen Milroe every time.
I will take Jalen Milroe twice for every one of Quinn Ewers.
Exactly. And as I said, I watched Jalen Milroe and Quinn Ewers back-to-back. It was Ewers, Milroe, Gabriel. And yeah, Milroe is a better prospect than him. And watching Ewers actually gave me some context for Milroe, and it could be a lot worse. And there are things he does well. Like you said, I really like that you pointed out the eye in the back of his head. It's natural. It seems like it's there. That's one of those things, the feel of the pocket. It is a natural kind of instinctive thing that you really can't teach. And now once you feel it, what do you do with it? That's something you can teach. And obviously Milroe doesn't have it, but it's something you can teach. You cannot teach just kind of, where is he? Am I in a clean pocket versus am I not in a clean pocket? And he knows when he's not generally. So
feeling the rusher sneaking around back as well. Some guys they'll let the rusher get an arm around them, and then the play's essentially done on arrival. I saw some ability to step up and slide.
Oh, yeah, and he's also just, when the guy does find him, he is a great athlete. He's not going to go down that often. I mean, he's a tank. He's going to take a hit, or he's just really hard to get a hand on. So he's got some good sack escape ability as well. And we talked about arm strength versus arm talent off the air, and I really think he toes that line because sometimes it is just pure arm strength, but then sometimes it is otherworldly arm talent. And it's just something that, man, most likely he's not going to work out. But there is a good enough chance that I'm willing to take a flyer in day 2. Absolutely. If the Rams take him in the 3rd round or the second round, I'd probably be, I get it, but okay, I'm not going to knock it 100%. 1st round, yes.
I was going to say, you meant that the Rams take him at the back end of the 1st, which is why he's invited to draft night, right?
He accepted the draft invite, too. It's like, what does he know? You know what I mean? Maybe he just wants to be there day 2 so that he can go up there at 58 when the Rams are picking and just be like, yeah, all right. Because it's cool to be up there and be drafted. So if you get an invite, even if you know you're not going to day 1, it's cool to just go and see it on day 2 as well. That's fine. It's perfectly fine reason to go. That might be what he's doing. So it doesn't mean he's going round 1, but it is interesting.
So I was scrolling through like the Vikings team subreddit as someone does, and I heard a really interesting theory. Now, the name of the user was Christian Darasaw, no space. So it may or may not be the real life Christian Darasaw. However, they kind of analyzed who the Vikings have brought in for visits, and I think the best prospects that they've looked at in the top 30 are like Omar Norman Lott and someone who is even, oh my God, I always get Omar Norman Lott and Derek Harmon confused. Derek Harmon and someone who's more of a top 50 type of player, and outside of that, it's all day 2 and day 3 guys. And they speculated that there's been some sort of deal made already, not official, but already been shaken on for a team to trade up with the Vikings. So the Vikings move back and gather some day 2 draft capital, which they have either virtually none of or literally none of. They might have a late third, but they are hurting for draft capital outside of the first round. Team that's looking for some depth, and they were speculating that maybe that's the team coming up from Milroe, and maybe that's why you got a draft invite. Is that a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory? Yes, but in case it happens, I want to look like I'm in the know and shout it out on air right now.
That's a fun idea, and I can absolutely see that because the Vikings don't have many picks.
No.
They really need to trade back. And if I had to put my money on anybody in the 20s, trade down to the first, it's the Vikings. Also, top 30s are weird because teams just use them on day 2 guys all the time. It's
true.
Top 30 visits don't mean they have to be a top 30 player. It's just somebody you want to visit with. It's just somebody you really want to get a better idea of. And that could be a guy in the second day. It could even be a guy in early day 3. That you really want to spend a lot of time looking at. You want to see if he's a good fit overall for your team. So, doesn't have to mean much, but it is worth noting, and I like that idea. I think it's interesting.
They're also like the coverage of top 30 visits has been weirdly poor this year. Like we know maybe 10 of them for most teams, whereas last year we're talking like 20, 25 for their top 30 visits.
Everybody was like, oh, he got a top 30 visit. He got a top 30 visit. And I had to be like, yeah, no, this does not mean what you think it means.
They're going in the first round. I think one team brought in like Danny Strigo from Minnesota for a top 30 visit. Danny Strigo first round hype. Let's start it up.
I think the Cole Strange pick from 4 years ago is still sending out shockwaves with people. And every year, somebody gets a mid-second round projected guy in the first round, and people go insane, whether it be Emmanuel Forbes, Jack Campbell, or Will McDonald. It all happens every year, and people are just like, told you. Just because a guy that was projected to go in the second round goes in the first round does not mean the top 30 visits. Does not mean that a 5th-round pick who goes on a top 30 visit is going in the first round. Alas, that will not be disproved this year because there's a legitimate chance that a consensus 4th-round guy goes in the first round. That is how weird this class is. But Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was focusing on, I swear, hear voices out there.
Oh, yeah.
We're probably fine.
Yeah. But getting back to Milroe, again, he's toes that line between arm talent and arm strength. He's a fun player. He's a guy I'm willing to take a shot on. And if you had to ask me about anybody in this class, any project, give me Milroe. He's my QB3, so he's above Jackson Dart.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
That's not.
He's your guy too.
Kind of, yeah. He's kind of my guy, but it's also like he got a true 3, or you got a 3 through 4.
That's completely fair, by the way.
But Jackson Dart also got a 3 through 4, so that tells you I'm not very high on Jackson Dart.
4 quarterback first round incoming.
Oh god. 5 quarterback. Quinn Ewers going in the first round.
Oh, that's so gross. Well, I have hated Quinn Ewers for as long as I've been watching tape.
Well, hold on. But you don't remember that my bold prediction earlier on the season was that Quinn Ewers would be the first quarterback taken?
I do remember that, and I almost quit the podcast.
I'm glad you didn't, but I wouldn't have blamed you.
One more guy I want to shout out who I kind of thought would maybe be your guy because I know you've watched him and you like him because he's hard not to like, is Tyler Shuck.
I feel like I didn't put him there just because I do like him, but everybody seems to be on him now.
He's everybody's guy.
Yeah, so it's like I tried not to put too many guys that were everybody's guy, right? But again, he is QB5 for me just because I have him a little bit low. I have a 3 through 4 on him as well. So 3 through 4 on Milroe, Dart, and Shuck. So they're all good, and it may change by draft day. These guys, it just you know what? You're in your head and you're thinking, and you weigh traits differently sometimes. And these guys are all razor thin with each other. So I like all of them as late day 2 flyers on a QB. So
I do think that Shuck has starter, maybe not high on starter, but starter traits.
I think he has starter traits too.
Starter traits and some starter skills. Like, I know that this is more of a fun thing than like an NFL quarterback thing, but some of his low arm slot throws, there was one where I think he gave the edge rusher a jab step and then spun around to buy some time, and he kind of did the Patrick Mahomes sidearm throw.
So you're saying his pro comp is Patrick
Yes,
Mahomes?
he's literally Patrick Mahomes. And yet he perfectly laid it out there on the back shoulder for a running back who was being covered. And this is when I wasn't even evaluating Tyler Shuck. This is a Tyler Shuck play I haven't seen before. In fact, I was actually evaluating the linebacker, who we will talk about today, who got victimized by that perfect against his leverage back shoulder throw. And I kind of stared at the screen like, that was actually one of the best throws I have ever seen in my life. So, he's also improved the decision making. He can get through progressions. He's mobile. He's got clean mechanics on the run. Tyler Shuck is a good football player. Are we ready to move on in the depth chart and get to running backs?
I think we are. On to running backs, obviously, top 10 running backs. We did that show last week. My computer's actually processing the upload right now, so it should be out today. Because it does take a while to make the graphics that you see so beautifully on the YouTube.
They're excellent.
They're incredible, but it does take a bit. So, and we're obviously very busy. So.
By the way, I have officially moved Devin Neal above Bashal Tootin. I just can't do it with Tootin anymore. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you, man. I appreciate it. Speaking of Devin Neal, that's my guy at running back.
All right.
We won't talk too much about Devin Neal because we spent 15 minutes talking about him.
At least.
In the top 10 running backs. Actually, I have it on my phone here somewhere. I'll look at it. But Devin Neal's my guy. Who's yours? Because we already did running back at my guys. We'll just go through them quickly.
Mine is a player who I think is still flying under the radar. I want to say he's currently projected as a mid to late 7th round pick, and that is LaQuint Allen out of Syracuse. So I watched him shortly after I watched Brashard Smith. Brashard Smith is a converted wide receiver. I think LaQuint Allen might be the better overall receiving back. His ability his footwork on option routes and his route snap is exceptional. He has extremely steady hands. And one thing that I evaluate on is sort of the naturalness and fluidity of your hands, because you see some guys that have a low drop rate because they catch everything on their chest as stiffly as they can and they're watching it the whole time. And that's okay, especially if you're like a possession tight end and you can rock that 4 or 5% career drop rate. But if you don't, if you're athletic, I want you to snare that ball with both hands and tuck it away and work upfield, and he absolutely does that. I also really liked his pass protection. But what got my attention when I was watching some Syracuse games, what made LaQuint Allen stand out, is actually just his work between the tackles. I think he is an extremely bouncy runner. He has breakaway speed, and I like his twitch and quickness as well. He can work inside the tackles with some contact balance. Another one of these undersized but really muscular sort of backs who can convert some speed to power and consistently fall forward. He is a job doer on the field. He can switch between a pass-catching mindset, a pass-blocking mindset, and I'm going to run through this guy and I'm going to carry a linebacker on my legs and get the first down mindset. He punches things in around the goal line. Or he can be the perimeter rusher, and he can be athletic, and he can look for the home run lane. His biggest flaw, I would say, is his vision just is not great. I saw some patience, which is something that not every running back has. He has some ability to slide and shuffle behind blocks and maximize yardage. At times, he's just straight up bouncy and overreactive to players getting into the backfield. One of his good traits is when a guy does come through the line immediately, he can put a juke move or a spin move on him and consistently avoid the TFLs, but when things get muddy and he really has to kind of stand still and wait for a crease to open up, no, he's probably just going to smash right into the center's ass or something like that. He's also bouncy to the outside. When he's attacking the B gap, it's not constant, but he really likes to go C or D gap with it even when it's not there, and it works a lot of the time because he's really athletic and he has the burst and he can sort of put a stiff arm on a guy and get around the corner. So that's his biggest flaw. But we're talking about a player who again, is a job doer who can handle a real workload, who's a little undersized but runs with legit power and a good pad level that I think is going to translate. He's fairly elusive, he's athletic, and I think he's an outstanding pass catcher. I look at LaQuint Allen as, at worst, a very strong part of a committee. Not even like a role player, just a one of two starting running back in the NFL with upside to be something resembling an Aaron Jones. I like LaQuint Allen a lot.
Wow, high praise. Very quick side note. The head basketball coach at the University of Tulsa is just talking on his phone right outside the door. It's just
What was he saying?
he was talking about the brand. He was talking about ball knowledge and stuff like
gotcha.
that. And I heard, BallsTalkSports naturally always comes up with those two words. You think ball knowledge, you think BallsTalkSports.
He didn't say it like that, though. I'm bringing on my cell phone right now. He said, BallsTalkSports. BallsTalkSports. Get over here.
Exactly.
He's calling in the higher ups.
He's telling people.
We're on the radar, folks.
He's telling the head football coach Trey Lamb. He's telling him to get down here. I mean, he's like, there's unprecedented. I sense an unprecedented level of ball knowledge in this room. You got to come see it.
These guys are going to turn the program around.
Oh yeah, absolutely insane. But LaQuint Allen, I think I never watched him, but I mean I've heard good things and sounds like a great player. So and I did watch Arondé Gadsden, the Syracuse tight end, and I saw a little bit of LaQuint Allen when I was watching him. So
what'd you think of Arondé?
He's not my guy.
Okay.
But hey, he's a solid player. Should probably be drafted.
I completely agree.
But he's not my guy. Maybe he'll be your guy.
Potentially.
Interesting. No, he should be drafted absolutely. And he's definitely not. He's not my guy, but he's not my guy. You know what I mean?
You don't have a burning hatred for
exactly.
Arondé
He didn't stand out to me. But we'll get to my feelings in this tight end class overall later in the episode. But Devin Neal, we talked about him for 11 minutes and 32 seconds last week. So, yeah, he's. I think he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. But he's kind of like Dylan Gabriel, where you put him in a great athlete's body, he's probably RB2 because Genti is so good. But he's got great vision, great patience, like truly elite vision and patience, and he's perfect. He's not hesitant, but he's patient. He's decisive. He knows what he's looking at. He reads the line so well. He's great in open space. He's got good contact balance, power, mow through guys. Again, he's not the best accelerator, but I think his short field burst is solid. I think his long speed is solid. Insanely productive, broke records at Kansas, and this is a guy with a true winner's mentality. He wants to hit you. He loves the physical aspect of the running back position. Great leader at Kansas. That's the nutshell for Devin Neal. If you want the full Devin Neal breakdown, go watch the running backs episode. But he's a great player, and I think he should go in day 2, and whatever team takes him will at worst. He's also a great pass catcher. Will at worst get a guy who's going to be a really quality part of the committee, but has the upside to go out there and be a legitimate starting running back, and a good one at that.
We might value him slightly differently, but I think we fully concur on the type of player that Devin Neal is. If you hate Devin Neal, like if you watch him and just go, I don't want to see more of that, there is something wrong with you, and you should seek counseling.
That's why it was tough to put him as my guy, because he's everybody's my guy, but for a good reason. He's such a fun player to watch. And the consensus board has him at 122 overall. And it's like, no, he's
pretty low.
He's gonna be a top 75 player on my board. So,
we ready to move to wide receiver?
Yup. Mine is pretty boring, so I can go first if you want. But
go ahead.
Mine is Jaden Higgins, another guy. I promise it does get deeper cuts. We do get some more deeper cuts, but he's 49th on the consensus board, but he's 32 on my big board, and I really like him as a receiver. Do you want to have me talk about Jaden Higgins a little bit, or do we want to hear your guy?
Go ahead and talk about Jaden Higgins.
All right.
I don't think we've really broken down Jaden Higgins on the show, so this is new information for our thousands of listeners.
Yeah, so Higgins is a guy that I feel like he's gotten more hype in recent weeks, but definitely deserves. I feel like people are talking about him. They're hearing that he's a potential first-round pick, and they're like, okay, I guess. But they're not really taking into account that not only is he a legitimate chance to be a first-round pick, he could go in like early 20s. He could go to the Steelers at 21. He could go to the Broncos at 20. He could go to the Chargers at 22, and I don't think it would be a bad pick. I mean, you talk about a guy who just knows how to play football. Jaden Higgins knows how to play football. Probably better than almost any receiver in this class. And the reason that he's not a first-round pick consensus is because people think his athleticism is average to below average, and I just flat out disagree with that. I mean, he's a great RAS score. Not that that matters too much, but it's something. Tested really well. His long speed, it's enough. Absolutely, it's enough. And I thought his hips were really smooth. Coming in and out of his breaks, like, there's absolutely something there. And I think people talk about him as a guy who can't run the entire route tree. People talk about him as a guy who's stiff, and he's just not really ever going to be anything too great, and just really just a quality starter, which is still really good to get in the second round. But I think he's smooth, and I saw a lot of nuance in the route running. He's got a great understanding of leverage and how to make your cornerback not really know where you're going to go. So that aids him a lot in route running and getting separation. He's never going to be this elite separation guy, right? He's not going to be Jamar Chase, but he can be a good enough route runner and separator to the point that makes it so his elite hands, where he just does not drop anything, and surprisingly decent athleticism and ability after the catch, that can make it so that gives it more of a shine, and that gives him a lot more freedom on the outside to run his complicated releases and just get enough space to go up there and do what he does best, which is make the contested catch and pick it out of the air and make guys look stupid. So he's big, he's tall, he can jump at the gym, he's fast enough, he's smooth enough, and he's a good player, a smart player. Talk about finding the zones. I think Jaden Higgins does that better than almost anybody in this class. He knows exactly what he's looking at every time. And when I look at this guy, when you watch him play, he doesn't run the most expansive route tree from the outside. From the inside, they put him in the slot, and he was doing some things. I don't think Iowa State used him to the best of his ability. I think he's going to be a better pro than he was a college receiver. Not the most productive guy of all time at Iowa State. Still had some production. So Jaden Higgins, again, I have 1 through 2 on him. He's my number 32 player on my draft board. And I think he can play in any system. He can play anywhere. He can be the big slot. He can be the X because he's also got a great release package. I mean, he knows how to beat guys off the line. He's just such a tough player to guard because he can do anything to beat you. And it's like, he's a frustrating player to guard too because, yeah, he's not the upper echelon of athletes. So why am I getting beat all the time? This guy's going to be an X in the league. And honestly, he could be a number 1 receiver. Probably never going to be the guy that he's not going to be a guy that you want necessarily as your true number 1. He's really the guy that you want as an X, as a really high-end number 2 receiver that you feel great about. If he's your number 1 receiver, I still think you can win football games. I just prefer him as the number 2 with a flashy route runner that can win in fun ways, and then he just does the fundamental grind, dirt work, catch the ball, make contested catches, run through guys' chest, run block, make good releases, and just as a part of a dynamic duo, he's just such a good player, such a fun player, and I think that he should go in the first round.
So in the preseason consensus rankings, Jaden Higgins was somewhere between wide receiver 20 and wide receiver 25. He was pretty overlooked. He was my wide receiver 9. And Victor, I hate that. I had fucking Isaiah Bond over Jaden Higgins. I had Evan Stewart. Evan Stewart actually kind of took some steps up this year and went back to college. I had Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton's kind of my guy as well in this class. I had guys that should not be over Jaden Higgins, which is why you already shouted out Psychics NFL, which is much appreciated. I had him as my college football week 13 riser. I had to honor him twice on the Instagram because I love Jaden Higgins. What really popped to me is almost exactly what you said. He is just immensely QB friendly. I love the way he runs routes with subtle misdirection and absolutely no wasted movement getting to his landmarks. This is a wide receiver class that's kind of been criticized for its lack of really nuanced route runners. I know that you grade out player traits. I don't know if you just have this off rip, but where do you have Higgins for the players that you've watched in terms of route running? Because I think he is one of the best in this class.
Here it is. So in terms of route running, he is he is the 4th highest ranked route runner in this class. Number one is, now this is a controversial take. He's not my guy, but I like to. My number one by far graded route runner is Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
But people, I see him all the time saying he just wins with athleticism.
Wrong.
What? Just because he's a great athlete, and yes, he uses athleticism to win in the correct way, does not mean that he just wins with athleticism. This is one of the most nuanced route runners that I've ever seen come out of the draft. He has a 9.14 route running grade. The next highest is an 8.5. So Matthew Golden's number one, Travis Hunter's number two, Emeka Egbuka's number three, and then there's Jaden Higgins. So that's really good company to be in. He's also he is quite a bit lower than Emeka Egbuka. He's not in that upper echelon. It's Matthew Golden, Hunter, and Egbuka, then teardrop Jaden Higgins in the model. But again, when I'm doing my route running grades, his athleticism hurt him a little bit because route running is all encompassing. It's not just how technically good are you at it. It's just how good of a separator are you, and that some of that is athleticism. If you're talking about pure route running technique and nuance, I think Egbuka's got him beat. I think Golden's got him beat. Maybe Hunter has him beat. He's still firmly forward, but he's in that tier with all those guys. He knows what he's doing. Honestly, this is the guy that absolutely I could see. He plays in the league for 10 years, retires, and becomes a receiver coach immediately. He's just that good. He's that fun. He knows what he's doing. He's a technician.
And those guys you listed, he's got like 4 inches and 15 to 20 pounds on all of them.
Like, these are all sub 200 guys. Jaden Higgins is 214 and looks bigger. He's like a guy. It's like, oh yes, who are the fastest players? Who are the fastest people in the world? Look at this. We've got the cheetah. We've got the jaguar. We've got the fox. And the rhinoceros has also made an appearance. How the fuck did you get here? Well, it doesn't matter. You're just as good. He doesn't look the part, but man, he is. He's just a great player. And I know that he's getting plenty of love, and I'm so happy to see it. I still wanted to talk about him because I still think it's not enough. I think he honestly will get his name called in day one of the draft, and we had it in our mock draft 1.0, and what we would do, you picked him for the Ravens at 27. He's exactly what they need. I talked about him. Where do you fit? Where do you need a guy who can do him next to the guy who can do the flashy stuff, the after the catch, the fun route running stuff. Zay Flowers is that guy. You put him next to Zay Flowers, that is an elite wide receiver duo. Jaden, he should go to the Ravens at 27. That's my plant the flag. Ravens should take him at 27. I'll give it an A+, I promise.
I'm glad we finally got to have the Jaden Higgins conversation on this show because it's always a fun conversation.
Really.
All right, my guy. Another projected UDFA, well, maybe he's moved up into the consensus late 7th round, but it is Elijah Badger from Florida.
Haven't watched him.
He is a player who was not on my radar, actually, when I released my first big board. I didn't know who this guy was. I had heard about him, but I did not know his game. He gets the combine invite, and, you know, you want to try and get some tape in on all the guys who made the combine, if possible, because if league execs are voting him in, there's probably something there.
It's also not possible.
And to be clear, watching tape on all the combine guys, not something I've done. And for half these guys, like the Rock Taylors of the world, we're talking like half a game to get an eye on the traits and how they win as well, so that when we do our draft live stream on day 3, it can be like, oh, I slightly know this player's game.
Tune into the BallsTalkSports draft live stream, guys.
Expanding the reserve of ball knowledge.
Exactly.
But Elijah Badger really popped me. And not a guy I expect to have a ton of athleticism. And then he comes out at the combine, and what did he run? His numbers were pretty good. 4.43 with a 1.54 10-yard split at about 6'1.5".
Very nice.
200. He's a full-size receiver. That's very solid, and you see every bit of it. He's got the twitch to win at the line, and he has the kind of sneaky deep speed as well to stack vertically when he gets that opportunity. He's a very good, not route runner, but like you said, it's not all about the route fundamentals. He's a very good decelerator who is the right blend of explosive and light on his feet. He has very good deacceleration control. He's got the tempo usage to kind of lull corners to sleep. And it's kind of hard to describe the way he tempos routes, but one of the things I don't like about him is he's not the smoothest accelerator. He looks so janky when he's accelerating that it almost confuses cornerbacks, and when he's able to effortlessly throttle down and run the dig route on a dime, it's like they're not there on time. My biggest issue with him is kind of this lack of attention to detail permeates his game, but it doesn't show up in terms of sitting down in front of zone coverage, which his ability to slam a foot in the ground, snap it down directly in front of the zone defender that he's trying to beat so he can box them out and make the catch. I think that's really excellent, and I think that's a pro trait. He has very good body control, so he factors in at the catch point. Like I said, he's 6'1.5". He's got some highlight reel grabs on tape, and he has hyper consistent hands. Also a guy where he is spearing the ball. He's not just kind of body catching it with ridiculous focus every time, because he is exceptional after the catch as well. I feel like when people imagine wide receivers at the catch, they imagine like the Madden juke moves where most of the time it's actually like a contact balance spin or kind of breaking a weak tackle attempt or hesitating and then bursting through a crease that opened up.
Or just seeing what's in front of you. That's the biggest part of after the catch thing that people don't realize. You have to just be able to see what's in front of you and be a creative rusher and know what the correct lane it is. Luther Burden's best trait as an after-the-catch guy. You get an A-plus run of after-catch grade. It's not how great he is at breaking tackles, how elusive he is. It's about maximizing the space in front of you, making that open space work for you, and just finding the right way to go. And that's a tough thing for a receiver to do. So that is the most important NFL trait when it comes to running after the catch.
Yeah, but Badger's got the Madden juke move.
Okay, well.
He can throw a back juke on you and just break ankles and have guys throwing themselves down in front of him. And then he has the athleticism and the urgency and ball carrier vision to actually do something with it and turn it into big gains. I want to circle back to the lack of attention to detail because it is frustrating. He's a fifth-year senior. He's going to turn 24 during his rookie season. He did kind of steadily get better throughout his career. What do I have in my notes about his trajectory? Very little. I think he was a transfer. I don't think he was at Florida all 5 years of his career. So he's gotten more snaps, which means that as you get more snaps into the NFL, maybe you keep developing. I know you're not a big wide receiver blocking guy, and I'm not either. It's not that valuable of a trait. However, I think it can tell you a lot about the player, and it's funny because Badger is 200 pounds with some good explosiveness. He can really dig his hands into a cornerback and mash them off the ball when he feels like it. His down-to-down angle discipline and sustain with his hands is some of the worst that I have ever seen. He is a master at running around a lot and somehow not getting in anybody's way. I swear to God, on a quarter of the run snaps I watched of him, his perimeter cornerback was making the tackle, and it was extremely frustrating. He is loosey-goosey with his stems. Even though he's very good at making the catch when he has the opportunity to, sometimes he'll just be on the defensive back's wrong shoulder, and now it's an interception, and that's really frustrating. His route fundamentals and his misdirection, it's mediocre. So there are some aspects where you look at him and you say, oh, okay, he's probably got to clean that up to develop into an NFL starter, because another thing I do like about him is I think he's versatile. I think he can play an X because he does have a decent bag of releases. I think he can be the sort of motion Z that you funnel design touches to because he's elusive. I think he can be a fairly reliable slot because he catches the ball and can sit down in zone. Or the more likely outcome, he's just a really solid wide receiver 4, and even though I have some criticisms of his game, this is a player that I would take in the 4th, 5th round and feel very good about it. I don't think he's getting nearly enough buzz. That is my 10-minute Elijah Badger spiel.
That's a great spiel, and yeah, he's number 316 on the consensus big board.
That is
so it's
insane.
A deep cut. Yeah, he should be getting more talk. But yeah, I like what you said. I feel like my biggest gripe with the receiving, because I'm a receiver guy. It's my favorite position to watch. It's what I played. I played tight end, so I also love tight ends. But receivers as well. I always watched receivers growing up. Julio Jones and Demaryius Thomas are my favorite players of all time, and Peyton Manning, of course. But my biggest gripe with the receiving community, how we talk about them in the draft, is this is going to sound bad, but the hyper focus. I know my guy is a big technician and nuance guy. We focus too much on technique and nuance. Now, it's important, but there's a lot of people in the draft community who act like you just can't be a quality NFL receiver without nuance and without technique. If you have enough, if you're not just an idiot, if someone taught you the basic like, okay, you plan a 45, you take 2 steps, you plan a hard 90, then a 45-degree angle, and that's your fade route. If somebody teaches you that, that's pretty much all you need if you're a great athlete. Yeah, if you're a great technician and you understand head faking and leverage and all of that, you can be a truly elite route runner. But you don't need to do that to be a solid NFL route runner. There are so many guys we see that just go out there day in, day out. Honestly, you break it down. This is another thing, why I think this happens is because this is mostly fantasy guys or guys who just, let's be honest, they watch college tape, but they don't watch NFL tape. It doesn't mean much if you're not watching NFL tape, you know what I mean? Because you don't know what to look for. Watch NFL tape a lot more, and it's something I used to be guilty of, but then I started watching more NFL tape, and it's like, I mean, there's not much nuance to this guy's game. He's kind of just running, and he's using true athleticism, and he's just killing guys. And it works. So yeah, you absolutely look for the nuance, and if you don't have the athleticism, that matters so much more. That's why I love Higgins so much, because he has that. But if you have elite athleticism, you don't need perfect route running and nuance and all that. That's why I think that's why I don't care as much that Golden is not elite at that, even though he's really good at it. He's undervalued at it. But he doesn't need to be because he's an elite agility guy. He's got great hips. He's got great feel for how to use that speed, tempo, acceleration, all that stuff. That's what matters a lot more when it comes to route running. So that's a brief wide receiver spiel. There's a lot that matters with wide receivers, and I just think people take wide receiver they take it at face value too little. Sometimes we overanalyze the position, whereas it's just, honestly, when you watch a receiver, it should sometimes it really is just that boy nice. That boy nice.
Do you run? Do you catch? Check mark, check mark. All right, probably a starter.
Athlete, you can catch the football, and you can separate. That's kind of all you need, man. And you can catch the ball in traffic. When I'm looking for receiver, there's 4 main boxes that I'm looking to check. Obviously, I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 traits on
Excellent.
my board. 14 traits. When I'm really looking at a receiver, I have 4 boxes I need to check. Can you catch the football? This is in order of importance. Can you catch the football? Are you a good athlete? Can you separate? And can you catch the football in traffic? If you have those 4, you go first round every single time. It's very simple.
That's a great conversation to have, and I think it scales as well. So even if you're not an elite athlete, if you're a good to great athlete who's a little bit loose with the technique, maybe you're not like a quality starter, but really good 4. Maybe the third of 3 starters on a team. I think it works all the way down.
Yeah, if you have all 4 of those traits, you're a wide receiver 1. All 3 of 4, wide receiver 2.
Literally how
2
it works.
4, wide receiver 3. 1 of 4, wide receiver 4. And if you have none of them, probably don't draft.
You're a Patriots receiver.
Exactly. You're. What's the name you texted me?
All right, we're going into the text messages. This is worth it to get on the pod.
Absolutely. Once you guys hear it, you'll know it's worth it. Because we were having a conversation about the Patriots. When you merge all the Patriots wide receiver 3s, how they would be wide receiver 6 overall.
If that.
Maybe.
All right. I got to use some tempo here to make sure I get this all out in one take. Jay Lavana-Sean Boldiker.
Jay Lavana-Sean Boldiker. Wide receiver 6.
Stay away from him in fantasy next year.
Yeah,
it's a dead
not
end.
the guy. Stay away from any Patriots receiver. If Travis Hunter goes to the Patriots, that will cry.
Oh, man.
He'll have to play corner.
Well, once you have that much talent in the room, maybe it sorts itself out.
I don't know,
man. But, probably not.
A.J. Brown did get a start under Mike Vrabel, so you never know. It's a new era, hopefully.
All right, now the hybrid between the offensive line and the wide receivers.
I am an indecisive son of a bitch.
Go ahead.
So I would like to each position, I have a couple of guys down. I only had 1 guy for quarterback and running back. I'm just going to mention these 2 guys. We're not going to go into spiels. I'm just going to mention them. I like these 2 guys.
We'll see if we go into spiels or not.
We'll see it because I know you like one of these guys. For each position, I have a couple of guys, and I have 1 my guy for each position. I narrowed it down. I just want to shout them out. So my other 2 guys for wide receiver, you just talked about him, Torrey Horton. He's a good athlete with good height, length. He's a good route runner, and this guy wants to play football more than almost anybody does. That's a guy I'm willing to take. Early day 3, late day 2. He's just a guy I want on my roster. And then it's hard to say that this guy's my guy when he is the consensus number one prospect in the draft. But Travis Hunter is a wide receiver, my guys. Specifically, people are saying he's better at corner. Travis Hunter as a wide receiver alone is the best. He's the number one prospect in this class. That's all I'll say about it. I've talked about Travis Hunter as a wide receiver a lot. I just feel like it's important to note that. I do not know where the narrative that he is a better cornerback than wide receiver came from. He is a better wide receiver. He might play cornerback more because you can play a little bit of receiver and play a lot of cornerback. You can't play a lot of receiver and a little cornerback. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he'll probably play corner. He's a better receiver. He's the number one player in the class as a pure receiver. He's not the number one player in the class as a pure corner.
I think that where that narrative comes from is probably the positional scarcity of cornerback. It feels like there's such an influx of talent at wide receiver, and wideout is also a position where you can just win with a higher percentage of athleticism. So I think they look at this guy who plays two positions at a really high level, and they say, you play cornerback, which is a very technical position, really well. And then you're also really athletic, so you're good at wide receiver also. So cornerback must be your strongest position. And again, I totally understand the argument for playing there, but he is just an extremely dynamic wide receiver, and he is my wide receiver one as well over Ted McMillan, who we won't go into a spiel here. We promise. We have the rest of the episode to record. This is going to be the 5-hour episode. But Ted McMillan is a good player. Let's not board the Ted McMillan hate train. That does not need to happen. Should never left the station.
I've come a little bit around on Tet. He does have a top 10 grade for him. Well, I can't remember if I officially changed it.
That's funny because I actually don't have a top 10 grade on him, but I don't have like a second round grade on him like some people do.
He was a true one beforehand. But now I'm grappling with top 10 because I get it. And I watched the tape again. He suffered from being the very first player I watched in this class.
Ah, yeah, sure.
And I watched it again. I was like, okay, yeah, he's still... I get it. I totally get it. And I got it before. I'm just a little bit more on that side now. Hunter is still a way better prospect because he's a way better prospect than everybody except Ashton Genty in this class. So, yeah. Just wanted to mention him, and I know you're a Torrey Horton guy as well. So I feel like I should mention. I like to mention that.
Torrey Horton and Jalen Royals are just like all around really nice wide receiver prospects. There aren't really holes in their games. Both guys that can win at the catch point. Some of the above-average route runners in the class, I do like Torrey Horton a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just really solid. They'll both block for you. Both kind of senior leader type of players who just play the game the right way. They're starters probably at wide receiver that get talked about like they're future mediocre backups, and I just don't see that being the case. Third to fourth round players for me at worst.
That's their floor, really. Future mediocre backups, and then. Yeah, both of these guys could probably be middling wide receiver 2s or high-end wide receiver 3s, which is really good for day 3
That's
draft
valuable.
capital.
Yep.
Which Royals is getting a little bit of a bump up, and some people take him in the second round. I'd like to pump the brakes there, but
me too. Yeah, I was ridiculously high on him over summer. By the way, Adam, I was like wide receiver 5.
Take him.
Then he got hurt, but third.
Take him in the third. I'm there. Take him in the fourth. I'm all the way there. You know. So I can't express how excited I am for the draft to see where all these guys go, and then do our draft grades episode. It's gonna be such a fun time.
All right, now is it tight end time?
Yes, it is. I would like you to go first on this one because I'd like to prolong the public apology that I have to make.
So my guy, like we've gotten into, is Oronde Gadsden, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had to really look around for a my guy in this tight end class because. I like T. Ferg, but a lot of people really like Terrence Ferguson, and I am not quite there on him. Like, I'm not taking him in the second round. And Elijah Arroyo, he's a good athlete with some nice ball skills. I think people are doing a lot of projecting on him. And is he your guy?
Huh? No, he's not.
Okay, all right. And then there were guys I was interested in down the board, like C.J. Dupree from Alabama had a nice combine, and I watched him on the field, and it's like, holy hell, this player is not good at anything.
He's not good at football.
I wanted to get a look at Thomas Fidone, who I've seen in limited bunches, and there just wasn't tape available on him. My exposure to Thomas Fidone has actually been seeing him in Nebraska games and watching the highlight reel. So I can't make him a my guy based on that. So I settled on Oronde Gadsden, who is a very unique player. So he's the son of Oronde Gadsden. This is Oronde Gadsden the second, by the way. He is the son of former NFL player Oronde Gadsden. And you see that in his game. He does play with very good positioning and nuance, which I like. He came to Syracuse as sort of a big slot wide receiver. And prior to this year, that is the role that he played. Like, he was not a tight end. He was listed as a tight end. He was a slot receiver. He added some weight. He ran at 243 pounds, and he doesn't look tiny to me on tape, so I wouldn't be surprised if he could realistically get up into that high 240s, maybe even low 250s range, and he moved in line, and he wasn't terrible. He wasn't good at all. He's like one notch above terrible to me, but I see some of the effort there, and it's important to note, this was his first year playing like any in-line at all. We're talking like sub 10%. This is his first year at his new playing weight. And oh my gosh, the flashes as a mismatch weapon. I think the term like mismatch, matchup nightmare, it's tremendously overused. Like, you can be a good big slot who just makes nice catches and positions yourself very well without being a matchup problem.
There's so few tight ends in the league who are actually matchup problems.
Oronde Gadsden in college was a matchup problem because he was able to burn linebackers. They could not hang in his hip pocket, and he would just beat the shit out of slot corners and safeties. His ability to pluck the ball outside his frame, and this is a big player. 33 and 5/8 inch arms is like 60th percentile.
That's really good for a tight end.
81 and 5/8 inch wingspan is rock solid.
Longer than most tackles in this class.
Longer than most tackles in this class, and he uses every bit of it. Just really exceptional hands, especially through traffic. He got peppered with contested catch targets in Syracuse's offense and just reliably converts about 60% of them. People use the term 50-50 ball. We got to stop, because the amount of wide receivers and tight ends where a 50-50 ball is actually a 50-50 ball, very few. We're talking like 20-ish guys in the NFL, and some of them are kind of jump ball specialists.
If you have a 50% contested catch rate, you're really good at that.
Gadsden is getting those legit challenging downfield targets, because some contested catches are like working over the middle of the field and they just get a hand in there and try and rip it away and you hold on. That's different. That is easier than actually adjusting to the football in the air. And remember, he's a tight end running from the slot, running seam routes. So he has to get fully turned around or catch it contested over the shoulder, and he did that at a 55-60% clip. So that's what I was extremely impressed with. He is a physical, aggressive separator, but he's got a little bit of shake in the feet as well. He is coming off a Lisfranc injury the last season, which is why I was a little bit lower on him over summer. I didn't see quite all of that athleticism returning, especially early in the year where I had him pretty low in my tight end rankings. It got better as the year went on. He is recouping that athleticism. That's why I like Oronde Gadsden. Not a guy where I'm like sky high, way above consensus on him. Dominant flashes. I think he's going to be a useful player you can get in the, 5th or 6th round.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's just, when you get down the board, as I said, I'm a receiver and I'm a tight end guy. There's just nobody that inspires much in me. And Gadsden was one of the only guys that I was like, there's something there. There is something there with him, and I'd absolutely take him in the 5th round, just see what happens, and there's a shot that something good happens. He's a classic dart throw. There's a lot of reasons why he might not work out. I don't care. Let's just give him a shot, right? Because there's nobody else that you want to take. If I had to say he's not my guy, because my guy is, we'll get to it. But Jackson Hawes out of Georgia
Hell
Tech.
yeah. Oh, he's not your guy?
No, he's not my guy.
But still, hell yeah. Jackson Hawes, let's go.
But he's the closest thing to my guy. I wanted it to be T. Ferg, but I have a 3 through 4 on him, and it seems like he's consensus 3rd round now.
Or higher. He's getting up there.
Yeah, so it's like, no, he's not that good. There's still a lot of problems with his game. He used to be my guy when he was going in consensus day 3. Now he's not anymore. Hawes is a perfect blocker and the opposite at receiver. But you can get him in the 6th round. If you can get a perfect blocker at the tight end position, yeah, you just be your tight end number 2 or tight end number 3. This guy's going to play in the league for a long time, serving as a backup, because just get him in a team that loves to run 12 personnel and run the football in Baltimore, and just get him there and let him work. Maybe even have him play fullback. I don't know. He's just a great blocker, and I appreciate good blockers at tight end. My guy, and first of all, I'd like to preface this by saying I do apologize. I promise. I know some ball. I do know some ball.
I know who it is.
Yeah,
now.
I'm not gonna
Yep.
pick. I'm not gonna pick the number one guy at every position. I cannot express to you how little this tight end class inspired me. From number one and number two were great, but from number 3 on, I watched a lot of tight ends because I was just looking for any reason to be excited about this class. There was nothing. Mason Taylor, I used to be a big Mason Taylor guy. I was like, yeah, I have a true 3 on him. I think he's gonna be great. Now he's like consensus second round. I don't think he should go in the second round. He's way too raw. He's too small. Elijah Arroyo, he's a good route runner, but I'm not higher on him than anybody else. He's a great athlete. He's a solid route runner, can catch the football sometimes. Basically useless as a blocker. I don't think he's a quality enough athlete to make great things happen as a pure big slot. I think the same thing with Harold Fannin. He's not nearly a good enough athlete for what he projects to be because he's not a good enough blocker.
He's such a weird player.
Gunnar Helm is fine. He's good. He's okay at everything.
He is the finest.
He's fine. He's a 3 through 4, and that's about where he's going. So I'm happy with that. But the guy that I'm higher on than consensus than everybody is Tyler Warren, and I don't feel good about having the consensus number 1 tight end, the 9th overall player in the consensus big board is my guy, but he is my number 3 overall player. It's Travis Hunter, then it's Ashton Genty, then it's Tyler Warren. Mason Graham and Abdul Carter come after him. He's over those guys. When I hear people talk about him, I'm like, you are underselling how special of a prospect this guy is. For context, I still have him lower of a grade than I had Brock Bowers. That's how incredible Brock Bowers was. But you talk about Tyler Warren. This is a guy with truly franchise-changing ability. He has a top 5 grade for me. I watched another game, and I bumped it from top 10 to top 5. He's one of 3 guys in this class. It's him, Hunter, and Genty that have top 5s. He is a really good blocker. He's a better blocker than people give him credit for. I don't know where, he's big and strong, and people think that's all he is. Watch his technique. He lands the hands most times. The stuff that he's not great at, I believe, will get cleaned up in the NFL. As a receiver, which is not the only thing he can do, as a receiver, he's really hard to cover. He can't run the entire route tree. Yes, he can. Again, I don't know where the narrative that he's not a fluid athlete came from. Is he Colston Loveland? No, but nobody's Colston Loveland. Tyler Warren is a freak. He's a freak of nature. At 260 or something, he's moving like that, and he is making guys look stupid. He's got route running down to a science. I mean, the nuance, the technique that he uses. When you're talking about using your shoulders and head, both of them you have to use both of them in combination, which is where a lot of receivers get tripped up. They just use their head, but the shoulders and the hips stay the same. So I'm not sold. I know
you
not
don't run
moving.
routes with your head.
No, you run routes with your entire body, and Tyler Warren fundamentally understands this. So he is going to make you miss with his entire body. His shoulders basically can change position in an instant. His hips are good enough to follow along with the rest of his body. He goes over the middle of the field when you thought he was going outside, because you have to protect the outside, because guess what? If it's one-on-one with you and Tyler Warren on the outside, he's going to catch the football, bitch slap you into the dirt, and run for a touchdown. Which brings us to, again, another elite trait, which is he's possibly the best tight end after the catch in this class. Oh, but he's not a 99th percentile athlete. Well, he's not that, but he's a damn good athlete. He's also like 267 and wants to kill you on every play. It's a well-known anecdote now, but when he was a kid, his father told him, hey, he wears number 44 because his father told him to model his game after John Riggins. If you know who that is,
Let's
go. Watch the
go.
highlights. That guy was nasty. That guy was it was the 70s, and he was the meanest guy in the league. That says something about this guy, and Tyler Warren models his game after him. I watched some highlights when I first heard that story, and I was like, if that's what Tyler Warren's modeling his game after, I'm in. And it shows, because he just obliterates guys. He detonates them, and he throws them into the ground. And then just when you're protecting against the truck, the stiff arm, you're like, oh, I'm going to beat that. You're staying square. He's going to juke you out of your shoes because he can still do that. All that being said, he can also play quarterback. So you can also have him in motion, have him in wildcat. He was a high school quarterback, I believe. He can throw passes.
He was.
So yes, he's got nearly a perfect tight end. He's not the perfect blocker. He's not the perfect receiver, but he's close enough to both where I'm like, yeah, you're going to be a really good tight end. But then you also add the layer. If you get a creative offensive coordinator, he can be Taysom Hill as well. So you combine Taysom Hill with a lot of people say Dallas Goedert. I can't think of a great comp for him because he's not George Kittle. He's not
Yet.
You come up with you combine Taysom Hill with 80% of George Kittle. That's a top 5-3 tight end in the league. He legitimately has top 15, top 10 tight end floor. He's going to come into the league and immediately be one of the best tight ends in football. He could be the best tight end in the league one day. I don't know. I feel like I'm having to really hard sell him to convince you that it's okay for him to be my guy, just because I know he's the number 9 prospect on the board. I still think he's wildly underrated. So that's my rant on Tyler Warren.
So I like what you said, but I do have a lot of criticisms of his game. For example, as a passer, 3 for 6 this season, 50% completion. Needs to be better in structure.
You need to look at the advanced analytics though.
Well, see, he's got a very low average depth of target as well, so he's a check down merchant. Needs to press downfield more. As a rusher, solid 8.7 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns.
Can't get up to 10?
He has that nose for the goal line. However, 2 fumbles. That's not going to cut it. You can't be fumbling once every 12 or 13 attempts, or you are not going to become an elite starting running back in the NFL. And then as a punter, and this is where I draw the line, 16 yards per attempt, 2.67 hang time, doesn't even have a chance to stick at that position. At tight end, though, I think he's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. But
I'm totally good with him being your guy. This episode was made for you to talk about Tyler Warren.
I had to talk about Tyler Warren because he's having his moment too, and he's going high. I just think I am a lot higher on him than most guys are. He's my number 3 player, and I really wanted to talk about some Tyler Warren today. And this is more of a factor. If there was a guy down the board that I really liked more than consensus, I would talk about them. Because, again, this is meant to highlight some of the lesser-known guys, but there just wasn't. This class, I'm really low in this class as a whole. There's nobody that stands out. I don't think there's anybody that I'm going to see drafted in day 2 or 3 that I'm like, yeah, that's good. That's really great value for who the player is. I just think there's just not many guys who deserve to go in day 2. There's not many guys who there's maybe 11, 12 tight ends I think deserve to even get drafted in this class.
I will say, down the board, looking for, pure blocking specialists. There are some options there, but, when you talk about draftable players who might become starters or, diverse tight end 2s, then they're, 10 or 11.
That's the thing. I think...
I think it ends with Gadsden because, going down my board, Luke Lachey is kind of the next pro-style tight end, and he's not going to be a starter.
It's helmet scouting. Urasek, theoretically...
Man, what happened to him? He's not a bad player, and he just didn't play for Georgia. It was weird.
If he's a bad player, how come he don't play good?
Urasek?
Yeah. If he's not a bad player, how come he doesn't? If he's a good player, how come he don't play good?
If he's a good player, how come he don't play? Is my concern. He was just like a blocking specialist for Georgia in the limited receiving snaps he got. Because I went in and tried to watch some because it's like, okay, did he have an injury that killed all the athleticism he showed at Stanford? And I thought I saw a pretty decent tight end still. So Urasek is a really weird conversation.
So it's theoretically possible with him. I think it's theoretically possible with Brenning Stool. Theoretically, again.
He's got work to do.
Yeah, a lot of work to do.
But it's possible.
But realistically, when I look at this class, I'm thinking about guys who are firmly your starter. You cannot convince me that there will be more than 2. I think there'll probably be 3. There will be one of these guys that separates themselves and becomes like a true NFL starter. Not just a guy that you're putting in the 20th best tight end, you're putting him in a pinch. It's like, this is a guy who is a top 20, top 15 guy who you can rely on as a starter. I think there will probably be 3 guys, maybe 4. And then in terms of guys who can even just be a rotational tight end, that you think could be that, I think there will probably be 7 or 8, maybe. It's just not a good tight end class past Warren and Loveland.
You remember when Bryson Nesbitt was consensus tight end 1? That was fucking stupid.
Yeah, that was insane.
That was insane at the time.
That was insane.
All right. So we were just talking about blocking tight ends. Are we ready to move on to the real blockers, the offensive tackles?
Let's talk about blockers.
Why don't you start it off?
All right. So I told you this isn't that deep of a cut. As you said, I'm not going deep with deep cuts at all because I just don't watch too many guys past like consensus 250. But this is the consensus number 222 player on the board.
Okay.
Florida offensive tackle Brendan Crenshaw Dixon. Well, I'll just talk about him and then you can go with your guy. But I mean, he's 6'7", 316. A little bit of a weird body type. I forget what his arm length was, but it was definite. I thought it looked good on tape. I really did.
His arms are 34 inches with an 83.5 wingspan. Rock solid.
Like, that's awesome. That is awesome. So he's a full-size NFL tackle, and when you're watching this tackle class, that's not something you see often. So immediately he stood out. And then you watch the tape, and you expect a guy with 6'7", 34-inch arms. He's not going to be the best athlete. He is a slightly slimmer, so then he's a decent athlete too. He's not like a world-breaking athlete or anything, but he's got everything you need. He's got enough of everything you need to be an NFL starter, I will say. Probably not enough to be like a great tackle at the next level, but this is a consensus bottom of the board, potential UDFA kind of guy, 6 through 7, 5 through 6. You're not looking necessarily for a franchise tackle at this spot. You're looking if you can get a starter at the spot, that's exactly what you want. So you got the functional athletic abilities, and I hear people at Florida. I think it was the Florida Pro Day. And I heard multiple people say, man, people talked about Brendan Crenshaw Dixon a lot, saying this is a guy, this offensive line wouldn't have functioned without him because he was just making sure that everybody was in line. And when you watch the tape, I think it's important to watch the 5 seconds before the ball is snapped on a couple of positions, and offensive line is one of those positions because you're looking at these guys, and it seems like every other play, every third down or so, Brendan Crenshaw Dixon would tap his guy. He'd point out. He'd say something. And be like, okay, what's going on here? And then the next second, where he pointed, a blitzer would come from. He saw the blitz, man. Every single time he saw the blitz. And I saw that in the first game, and I wanted to make sure it stuck through the entire thing. All 3 games I watched of him, he saw the blitz every time. This is a guy who's really smart. He sees the blitz. He sees the stunts. He reacts really well to twists on the line, and he's not going to get caught off guard by any of that. He's a great leader on the line, and he's a smart player. So you got big, long, athletic, and smart. Immediately, all of those boxes checked, you are a draftable player. It does not matter how disastrous the rest of your technique is. His technique is definitely not disastrous. You're talking about as a run. Let's just get it out of the way right now. I don't think he's a great run blocker. I don't think he will be a great run blocker in the league. And I just don't think that'll probably limit his ceiling. But as a pass blocker, man, he has like above average hands. Like when you talk about getting that first punch and landing it inside the chest and taking the air out of the edge, framing the guy, there's 5 or 6 guys who are better in this class at that than Brendan Crenshaw Dixon. He's legitimately great at that. His feet are relatively smooth and they're relatively well attached to his hands. He looks like he's a functioning pass protector who knows how to play the position, and he's going to be great on the outside. You get inside his chest, you'll be able to drive it back again. He's slimmer, he's leaner, doesn't have the best anchor. He's also very tall, so he can't play with that elite leverage to dig in and push a guy back. That's something you're okay with living with. And again, when I'm looking at guys in the later round, there will always be knocks on them. But I'm looking at a guy who is big, long, a great player, a great leader, a smart player, good technique with both the hands and the feet, solid strength, and showed enough in his zone blocking tape as a run blocker that makes me convinced that he will not be a liability. So you put him with a zone blocking team, you tell him pass protect on the outside, make guys afraid of you, swallow them whole with your long arms, land the hands, make their job difficult. I think he can be a quality starter for you. And if you can get that in the 6th round, you're ecstatic every day of the week. He's a true 4 for me. So it's not like I'm not so much higher on him than consensus, but just a guy that when I watched him, I was like, I love it. I love watching guys who are great leaders and smart players because those are always the guys who stick in the league for a while. So when you pair that with good technique, size, and athleticism, I'm shocked that this guy isn't being talked about more as an early day 3, late day 2 guy, because he just seems like such an easy prospect to hit on. Also played against the best edge rushers in the conference at Florida, the SEC. So there's not much to hate about Crenshaw Dixon. There are flaws in his game, but if he was a first-round prospect, obviously that would be concerning. As a sixth-round prospect, I'm in. He's my guy.
Offensive line as a whole is sort of a unique position because I feel like it's the only one where players who are really good in college can go overlooked by the media, at least. Obviously, the NFL isn't overlooking them to this extent. But just for the entire process, like sometimes it takes till the combine for, say, some wide receivers or interior defensive line talent to start climbing up the big boards to where they should be. Offensive linemen, if they don't run sub 5 40-yard dashes, can just stay in that 7th round of priority UDFA pool. And these are guys that project as future really good backups. And
he did not test well, but I see
it wasn't egregious though, was it?
It was 5.3 40. That's not good, but you're not really running the 40 yards that often as a lineman.
Exactly.
And a 1.87 10 yards not also great, but 25-inch vert isn't awful.
No.
8-inch broad isn't awful. It's not great, but again, you see it on tape more than you do in testing. So I'm not as concerned about that.
I have had very, very light film exposure to Crenshaw Dixon. I think I watched something like a half of him, and I'm really trying to dig into my brain and remember it. And one thing that I think stood out to me is he was very good at taking away the outside shoulder, which I think is key for a player who projects as a backup, because some of the tackles who get plugged in the NFL when the starter goes down, man, things can get really tough on offense when guys can just run around you.
Yeah.
I don't really care that much about run blocking for a backup tackle. It's don't be a liability and don't get smashed into the backfield immediately and don't let guys just run around you. And if Crenshaw Dixon can do both of those things at a high level, that's absolutely a draftable prospect and probably more.
Yeah, and he is absolutely, at his worst, he can be a solid backup tackle. I think he'll probably end up being that swing lineman, 6th guy. You can put him wherever, play him left or right tackle, honestly, throw him at guard, see how it goes. Probably won't go well because the anchor and playing high, but see how you can try it. I think he'll probably be that 6th guy, but it's not out of the question at all. He's a starter in the league. Don't think he'll ever be a great starter, somebody you love. He's never going to be a Pro Bowler or anything, but average starter, you'd be ecstatic with getting an average starter in the 6th round, especially in this class where it seems like I hear from GMs that, well, yes, I hear directly from GMs.
They're calling you up on the smartphone.
Yeah, they're telling me, hey, Victor, listen, I'm my draft approach is not to land all of these all-pros, but I just want to get 3 or 4 quality starters. And if you can get one of those guys in the 6th round, that's really good process.
So, Victor, we're not concerned about hitting the home runs in this year's draft, but we need some singles and doubles. Who are your guys?
Exactly.
This is a routine conversation for both of us as well. I've experienced the same thing, obviously. GMs come directly to us.
Yeah, they do, and I was like, I can't give that away yet, but listen to the Balls Talk Sports My Guys episode. That'll tell you all you need to know for your draft process. So all of these guys we're talking about right now, they're going to be going really high because all these GMs are listening to it, and they're saying, oh, man, well, we got to get him. And we know, but they know everybody else is getting it, wants to get him too. So they got to go up, and they got to take Brandon Crenshaw Dixon in the 2nd round. It's just going to happen.
Brian Gutekunst, please don't take Savone Revel. Please.
Well, he listens to the pod, but clearly he doesn't take what he hears to heart. There's some GMs that don't take what he hears to heart. So yeah, Goody, please don't take Savone Revel, but he doesn't listen to us often.
You know who we will take?
Smile
Munden. Yes, Smile Munden. But in the 4th or 5th round, Jack Nelson out of Wisconsin.
There you go.
And look, I had to get a Wisconsin guy into the My Guys list, but he's kind of like a sneaky sort of consensus My Guy. I've seen people be high on him. Maybe they're just scouting the fact that he's been a prolific starter in the Big Ten for 4 seasons and saying this guy should be projected above the 6th or 7th round where he currently is. But Jack Nelson you can scout the helmet and actually kind of get the gist on him. He is exactly what you think he is. He is strong. He's a Wisconsin lineman. He's strong. Nobody's going to run through his anchor. He's just a consistent presence on drive blocks where he can consistently get up and underneath guys and route them out of the play. You know, as a Wisconsin fan, the line can sometimes be a little bit shakier in pass protection than you might expect. I was pleasantly surprised watching Jack Nelson work one-on-one reps. He's not particularly athletic, especially in space. He's not a guy that you want climbing. He's not a fit for a zone offense. However, he times his kick set very nicely, and he's just got short, choppy steps, but he's not bad at denying the outside shoulder either. So he's not a guy who loses inside by oversetting, but he's also got some sneaky ability to flip the hips and kind of as the last ditch flush speed runners out around the apex, which is something I didn't expect to see on tape. He's got some ability to actually execute reach blocks because he does have a little bit of explosion out of his stance. Again, the longer the play goes on, the slower he gets, and the more you're dissatisfied with him reaching his landmarks. But in pass protection, and pass protection is what I care about for tackles, he's just kind of a rock. My biggest issue with him is he's pretty disappointing in terms of sustaining blocks. I don't think he has good grip strength. He's prone to overextending. He doesn't have great angle discipline. However, one trait that kind of helps salvage that, and this feels like it's an increasingly lost art among tackles, he's just a really nice finisher. And we're talking all phases as well. So, for example, sometimes because this is something I feel like a lot of people don't think about when they see a player disengage, shed from a lineman, it's really hard for the lineman to know what angle to keep because he doesn't see the ball carrier in real time. He doesn't have eyes in the back of his head. And so oftentimes you'll see offensive linemen kind of lurch. They're losing control of the angle. And then they try and hang on for another tenth of a second, and they fall on the ground, and the player just disengages and goes over and gets in on the tackle. Jack Nelson will gamble a little bit. He won't consistently get that extra tenth of a second. However, 50% of the time, he is strong enough and long enough to just chuck the dude on the ground, and now he's out of the play, which is very preferable. He also just takes the classic lineman thing to heart, and anytime the ball carrier is falling forward, he is on him immediately, just punishing guys. Whenever he gets the opportunity, he's going to finish blocks, which I love. He is smart. He's an experienced starter, doesn't get hurt. Excellent at picking up stunts and blitzes and working in combinations in both the run game and the pass game. I don't think he can be a quality starter. He's fairly grabby in pass pro as well. You can tell that he's really maximizing his pretty limited lateral athleticism as well. He's really coached himself up, and Wisconsin has coached him up. He has this interesting technique where he'll sort of violently whip around his pad level in order to get rushers who are about to beat him to the outside on the ground. And yeah, you're going to draw 7 penalties a season doing that. But ultimately, if this is a lower-end starter who I think can be the weak link in a group of 5 offensive linemen, if this is a really good backup who's both a solid pass protector and very functional in the run game, you're happy with that. I think you're taking that well above the 6th or 7th round. I think that's a 4th or a 5th round kind of talent. I like Jack Nelson a lot. It is 442. That's okay.
Wow. That's fine.
Yeah, this is awesome.
What do you think? You think a potential move to guard could be in the works, where it's like that hides some of the lateral athleticism, allows his anchor to shine through a little bit more?
That's another thing that I like about him. When you look at his measurables, he's 6'7", 314. It's not conventional guard size, but you'll see some tackles where they're long and lanky, and it doesn't really work to their advantage. They're just kind of top-heavy and can get bowled over. It never feels like Jack Nelson's frame is too big for him. He still feels like a very coordinated athlete. One thing I didn't even mention is just his strike timing. It's impeccable. He's just a very strong overall pass protector whose only limitations, I would say, are the athletic ones. So move him into guard. You get him in a more linear arrangement where he can maximize that impact on combo blocks. I do like that a lot, and I'm trying him at tackle. I think he'll be fine there, but you can kick him inside if need be, whether he kind of fails at tackle or whether that's where the hole on your depth chart is. I would take him the 4th.
All right, important pod news. The guy just texted me back. Good to hear from you, Victor. I'll listen and get back to you. Bam.
Excellent. That is a win.
Elite.
I knew he wasn't leaving you on red.
I know. He loves us. He loves the pod already. All right. Yeah, okay, so that's tackles. You got any other guys that you want to shout out?
I don't think I do at tackle. I did pick one interior guy. I know this is not the strongest center class in the world. Like, there are some dudes, but when Marcus and Bo and Gray Zabel are two of the top centers and they weren't even centers in college, yeah, I picked one interior guy to talk about.
Yeah. As far as other tackles go, I just want to give a quick shout out to Charles Grant. I think people have come around on him, and he's now about where the consensus is about where I am. But
Frickin' athletic.
he's just an athlete. But he's an athlete in the way that you've seen year-to-year improvement. But also, he didn't start playing football till his junior year of high school, so he's really new to the whole thing. This whole thing. And he played at William and Mary, not exactly the best coaching staff in the nation. You get him with NFL coaching, NFL strength guys. Showed enough flashes, enough great athleticism to the point where I'm just like, this guy wants to play, and give him a shot. There is a legit chance he becomes a really good player in the league.
He feels like a Miami Dolphin to me.
That makes sense. He can be in their move blocking system. I don't know if I want him with the Dolphins line coach, who clearly doesn't know what he's doing.
No, I don't think he should be a Dolphin. I just think he is a Dolphin.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. All right, interior. Would you like to go first? Would you like me to head it off?
Did you go first on the last one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'll start it off. And I want to talk about Luke Kandra from Cincinnati. Another player where this is like a 6th-round projected guy, and he's flawed. There is one really big hole in his game, which is that he is very poor when he's asked to climb and just nail the linebacker at the second level. He is a slower, stiffer mover who has virtually zero ability to adjust to what quicker defenders do, and even then, he does not maximize it with a good targeting system. That being said, I think everything else about him is pretty damn good. I wish that he had a little bit more pure ability to drive guys off the ball. He likes to play with very wide hands. However, he's just like a big, maxed out sort of blocker. And so when you get him in combo situations, he can deny like an entire side of the gap. He can wall off multiple defenders at once because he's strong enough to help out with one guy who's already being engaged on the combo and just eliminate him from the play. And then he finds the linebacker scraping over, and even if he's not the most forceful, you're just not getting through him. This is another lineman where he's a guard who plays like you want a guard to play. Another overall quality finisher. He is sort of a senior leader type of player. He's a senior, right? Maybe 5th year?
Yeah.
Yep, 5th-year senior. Going to be 24 years old as a rookie. But, again, what you see is what you get kind of guy. And as a lineman I'm projecting as a backup, I'm generally okay with that. I like his pass protection tape much better. I don't think it's going to be perfect. His biggest flaw is that sometimes his hands and his feet can get out of sync, and guys can get into the backfield in a hurry, and he doesn't have the hip flexion to wall them off, and so they're just able to run by. However, on a down-to-down basis, I think that he uses his hands and his feet quite well. He just takes most linear rushers completely out of the play. I think he was top 10 in pass blocking efficiency in the entire Power 5. And that checks out. You see that on tape. I think that his ability to diagnose and pick up stunts and be helpful with the guard and the tackle, or the center and the tackle on either side of him, is very solid. Not a super high ceiling sort of player. I don't think he's a liability as a rusher. If you get him in a man gap system, I think he's fine. Maybe a guy who can still get a little bit bigger and stronger, but it's just really hard for me to bet against his pass protection tape, which I think checks out both statistically and on the field, when this is a player people are treating like a maybe he'll get drafted sort of dude. I don't have high expectations, but I do like him a lot compared to consensus.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to him, but seems like a great player. Excited to maybe I'll dive into him.
I don't recommend watching D'Artagnan Tinsley, though.
Okay.
He doesn't pop near as much on that line.
No.
Well, for the wrong reasons.
Okay, my guy, I want to see if you can guess him. Just from one, I think he is the pound-for-pound strongest player in the class.
Oh,
Yep.
No.
I'm sorry, I have
God
to.
damn it, it's Willie Lampkin.
Yes, it is. It's Willie Lampkin, and pound for pound is the operative term there.
Oh, he's so good.
Because he is an interior offensive lineman who's 5'10", 290.
Is he 290?
Yes. No, he weighed in at 290 at combine. So
What did he test at, though? He tested at 279. I think he plays closer to 275.
I thought
because he didn't do anything at the combine. It was all pro day stuff.
Pro day, really?
Yep. So I think his playing weight is right around 275, but you cannot tell because he is so goddamn good.
Yeah, it's just like, and I honestly think I thought his playing weight was a little bit higher, around 280, but
maybe dropped weight to test. That could be.
That's possible. It's real. I try to like most guys. I knew I was going to go in and I was going to like Willie Lampkin's tape, and I tried to not like him because he's just he probably won't work out for a reason or the other, being something related to his size. And yes, you see those deficiencies with his size on tape. You do. But this guy is one of the best pure football players in the draft.
Is he a fullback?
No.
Yeah, I agree.
He is a lineman. He is going to be a guard at the next level. And if that doesn't work, maybe you try him at fullback. But I think it's going to work. I can tell you everything you want to. I watched him while I was watching a Marion Hampton. He's a fun watch. His hands, obviously, first of all, athleticism. He is a very, very good athlete.
Better than he tested.
Yes, I mean he moves like he's gliding through air. I mean, like this guy, you just can't beat him laterally or vertically. You're not getting around him. If you're trying to beat him with athleticism, it's just not happening. And then it's also like, when I said pound for pound strongest player in the class, I meant that. He is genuinely incredibly strong. It's ridiculous. He's stronger than a fair few linemen in this class, and he's got 50 pounds. Who have got 50 pounds on him.
Plays low.
He plays low. He plays with leverage incredibly well. And we talk about his size, 5'10", 280. Well, his arm length isn't great, but when we're talking about wingspan being an important metric, just as important as arm length, some people say, it's about 40th percentile. So it's functional. He's got decently long arms and a decently long wingspan, enough to the point where I'm like, you're not going to get demolished by anyone over 33-inch arms. He's still going to get beat, but it's not going to be as bad. And then you talk about his technique. He's a 5-year starter, or I don't know if he's a 5-year starter, but he's been playing for 5 years with 2 separate schools. And it shows, because this is one of the most refined players in the class. His hands are very good. I think sometimes they're a little late, which really, if he lets a guy into his chest, he's going to get beat. So he needs to improve that. The thing with him is you have to nitpick every bit of technique, because if it's not perfect, he will lose. So for any other tackle, he would have incredible hands, but for him, it's good. There are some things that you need to improve there. His feet are incredible. They're not only nimble, but they move very well. There's a difference between being having quick feet and having good feet, and he definitely has both. He knows how to move. He knows how to mirroring the defensive lineman in front of him. It just looks effortless for him. Just reaction to what they're doing, how they're trying to beat him. Punch with the hands. The reset is incredible. When you're trying to mirror, he gets a hand in the chest and just moves along with him. He's so great at diverting the defensive lineman's rush angle to the passer. Getting that clean, untouched angle is just impossible against Lampkin, because he's going to do everything he can to make it as tough as possible. In the run game, I mean, the strength shows and the athleticism shows. Obviously, he has to be in a heavy wide zone system. He's not going to survive in a gap scheme. But you throw him out there, you let him run, build up that head of steam, use those incredibly yoked up arms to deliver speed to power and knock a guy on his ass, climb to the second level and knock a guy on his ass. And that brings us to maybe his best trait, which is possibly he is the most extraordinarily tenacious player I've ever watched. He just plays through the whistle.
He's a pit bull.
He could have dropped weight to play tight end. He could have played fullback. He could have done a lot of things. This guy wants to play offensive line. He wants to hit you. He wants to make you sorry you were ever born. Talk about finishing a play. He finishes the play. He ends up on the ground on a lot of reps. Normally it's a bad thing. For him, it's a good thing, because he took the other guy to the ground with him. He also just doesn't get penalized often, too. So it's when you see a guy who's incredibly tenacious but doesn't get penalized, that's kind of crazy. And then again, we talk about 280 pounds. Surely he has a bad anchor. If he doesn't land the hands, yeah. I mean, if it's
that's
kind
like
of
anybody
uncontrolled,
almost.
yeah. If it's kind of uncontrolled, he's going to get obliterated. But if he lands the hands, which is most times, you get the inside grip, get the leverage, I honestly say it's above average. He's hard to move. He's hard to move. So yeah, you just look at the weight profile. You say, nah, it's not going to work. Then you watch the tape. Every reason why it shouldn't work appears to fizzle away when you watch the tape, except for the fact the lows are really low. You know what I mean? I just like he's kind of slow to get off the ball sometimes. I think it's a coaching issue. I think something just teach. I think that can be brought up, right? You will see him get detonated sometimes by longer arm guys who just control the rep and throw him aside. The bull rush will get to him if he doesn't land the hands. That's why he needs to be perfect. All right, like I said, he needs to be perfect. So there's a lower margin for error for him, but he can continue to learn. He's also one of the smartest players in this class. You'll never see him miss a stunt or a blitz or a twister. I mean, he hands off rushers better than anybody I've seen. He's a great communicator, a great leader, a guy who won the locker room. I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard to bet against him. It's just hard to bet against him. And he also showed so much progression. 2023, my biggest problem with him was you're not going to survive. I was like, he's not going to survive in the league because every time he just landed on his back feet and he would get bowled over and he would be susceptible to the counter where it's like if you're landing on your back feet into your drop back, well, if they hit you with the counter, you're on your heels. You can't mirror it as well. 2024, it's gone. He's light on his feet. His stance is incredible. He's got great posture. Comes out of the stance very cleanly. Not on his heels. Mirrors basically perfectly. He's an elite mirror. I'm talking for a long time about him, but I feel like it's warranted because he's such a weird case. You just never see anything like that. I'd like to hear your opinion on him, but he is my guy. I also have another guy that I'd like to talk about. If that's okay with you, I could not decide, but well, maybe later. I'll spend less time on him. I wanted to dive into Willie Lampkin because this is a one-of-a-kind prospect.
I don't know what to do with him, but I will give you some fast facts. 0.9% pressure rate allowed in 2024. Top 10 in not just the FBS. Well, top 10 in the FBS, and then I think like top 5 in the Power 5.
Yeah, and he's playing for a Power 5 school.
Against real rushers.
Yeah, and last year he played against Brazil, and he did look bad sometimes, but he held his own most of the time.
Top PFF pass blocking grade of any guard. He is, in fact, a fifth-year starter, 3 years starting at left guard at Coastal Carolina and then 2 at North Carolina. Comes out of high school, weighs like 235 pounds, I imagine, just out there starting at left guard, manhandling dudes. You said he's a guard. I think he's a center. That's where he took the majority of his reps at the Senior Bowl, and he was taking names there. That is how I learned who Willie Lampkin was, because it's like, who is this guy who looks way out of place, but nobody's beating him? He's got some Gray Zabel to his game in terms of how good his feet are and how guys just can't work around him one-on-one. I see why you like the guard projection better based on the college tape. I do too, but man, it's just hard for me to see him being a guy who you can trust more often one-on-one at guard.
Tough. I did not love his center tape, so that's why. But I didn't see him at the Senior Bowl. So if he went crazy in the Senior Bowl at center, I'm down with it. If it's there, he will be better as a center if it's there. I just did not. I thought he got a little bit overwhelmed sometimes by the nose tackles. That's why I liked him better at guard.
That's difficult. You got to help him out. You got to get him in a wide zone scheme.
Because that's why I'm just like, you put him on the 3 tech or the 5 tech, and I think he can survive in a one-on-one. That's why I projected him more to guard. But if you get him help and he can survive at center, he will be better.
So we're saying he's versatile as well. He can play multiple.
Put him at tackle. Put him at tackle.
I want to see it, man.
But I do think this is a guy who will be in the league. I think you'll know day one whether it plays or the size plays or not. It's just like, okay, well, we spent a 6th round pick on him. Let's see, first day of camp. Yeah, he's not going to be anything. Okay. But then, first day of camp, look at him. He just survived against this superstar NFL defensive lineman. He survived. And it's gone from there. He's a starter, and he's a damn good one at that. So first day, you'll know.
I do have him on my fullback board. Not like as a primary fullback, but I'll sometimes list players at multiple positions on my board. I think that's your like worst backup plan. But man, he is an athlete with elite size-adjusted strength and football acumen, both in terms of intelligence, and I've heard great reports about his character. It's really hard for me to imagine that this is not a guy who sticks around. There are a lot of players who cannot play at the pro level who are just purely speculative on a 53-man roster and on practice squads, and Lampkin can give you a hell of a lot more than those players can.
Oh, yeah. And I get the fullback thing because he's deadly accurate at the second level. He gets there quickly, and he just brutalizes guys. All right.
You said you had another shout?
Would you like to do yours first? I'll spend less on my last guy because it's Willie Lampkin's my guy, but this is another guy that was so close that I had to at least mention him.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, my second guy is Holland Pierce at Rutgers as an interior offensive lineman.
Okay, kick him inside. I get
key.
that.
That's key. As a tackle, he's fourth, fifth rounder kind of guy. He's a true 3 on my interior offensive line board. He's never done it. But all of the things he's good at absolutely transfer to guard, and all of the things he's bad at will be hidden by playing at guard. So he's kind of the reverse. He's kind of the reverse of Willie Lampkin, like in every way. Willie Lampkin's 5'10", 280. Holland Pierce is 6'8", 340, 36-inch arms.
Insane.
If you get within his arm length, you're done. It's over. You are not escaping his grasp. He swallows guys whole in close quarters, and that is where I think you talked a little bit about this. These big guys move into guard. You have to be able to play with your size really well at guard. Holland Pierce does that. He knows how to use his size, his arms, and his overall body mass and density to his advantage. So you put him at guard in close quarters in a phone booth. There's no defensive lineman in the league that's gonna. I mean, there are obviously defensive linemen won't be able to beat him, but man, there's nobody that there is just gonna run through him. There's a couple guys because the NFL is full of freaks. There's nobody in college that could run through him.
You can't like really ding him for the fact that some of the most insane penetrators in the NFL will get him occasionally.
You can't ding him for the fact that Chris Jones is going to beat him.
Chris Jones is just going to beat everyone.
But most defensive linemen are not going to be able to run through him in close quarters. They're not going to be able to get into his chest because also he's got pretty good hands. Like as far as just the punch accuracy at first. Like the first punch, the first strike, generally lands it. He resets and he frames it pretty well. Your main issues with him are going to be... But even... Okay, my main issue is like he's obviously massive, so he's a lumbering athlete, and he's not going to hit his landmark as often as you like. I think it's functional, though. Even for a tackle, that's why I have a 4 through 5 on him as a tackle, because I think it's functional as a tackle. He can do it, I just think it'll limit him. I think it's definitely good enough to be a guard. He has the ability to mirror guys at a decent enough level. Maybe he's not going to be able to do it with the best athletes in the world, but again, this is a guy you're going to take in day 3. You're not taking him with the intention that he's going to be able to beat Chris Jones, right? If he can just survive as an athlete, which I absolutely think he can, that's good enough for me. So you bring in his hands, let him just hit guys with his hands, latch on, which he's really good at. He was consistent with that at Rutgers, especially in the run game. He goes towards guys, he latches on, and then he bullies them backwards. So then you may be thinking, well, Victor, obviously we're going to have a bunch of penalty issues, surely. I mean, there's this massive guy, and he's just latching on the guy. Surely he's going to get called for holding all the time. Well, you'd be right in an alternate universe, because in 3,100 snaps at Rutgers, he had 4 penalties.
11.
What?
However, he only had 2 as a senior.
2 as a senior? Okay. 11's still really good.
He seriously cut it down. But it's a strength.
PFF said it was 4, so...
PFF does not organize penalties very well.
Okay.
That was probably like his run blocking penalties. It's really annoying.
Yeah. Either way, 11 penalties.
You're very right.
2 in 3,100 snaps, 11 penalties, 2 this past year is very good. Probably the best trap move I saw of any tackle in this class. A guy tries to long arm you. I'm better at long arming you, man. It's kind of, if you're for the uninitiated, it's kind of like when a guy he reaches out his arm to go for the long arm of the bull rush. He kind of the tackle kind of keeps his arms down for a second, makes it look like he's going to allow easy access. Then he whips him up and he traps. He traps the arm, so that kind of either destabilizes the edge's balance, so he goes to the ground, or it just makes it so they really can't get any momentum going. And he's really good at doing that. As I said, he latches on. Again, he's really not. He plays really high because he's 6'8", right? It's just always going to happen, and that'll be worse at guard. But I don't really think that I need somebody to explain to me how he's going to fail at guard. I mean, I think he's not going to be the best of all time because, again, he's a limited athlete, but it's good enough at guard. He's got a great anchor. He's massive. He wants to hit you. Long arms. Great player. Knows what he's looking at. I need somebody to explain to me how he's not going to succeed at guard. And I'm really considering giving him a 2 through 3 as an interior guy. The only reason I didn't is because he's never done it before. So it could be a disaster. I could be wrong. It's always tough to project. But right now, I'm in on Holland Pierce.
6'8", 3/8, 36-inch arms, 88.25-inch wingspan.
Jesus Christ.
For reference, on my big board, I have these values where basically I remove like the most extreme outliers. Like, for example, Kyle Pitts wouldn't count for tight ends because it's just not really a fair comparison. Like, nobody's going to get the bright green ratings because Kyle Pitts would just be so far up there in the measurables. The bright green, like the max value, is 86 3/4, and he is sitting at 88 1/4. And I just want to remind you, remember the Will Campbell controversy? These measurements for both arm length and wingspan
They were shorter.
were consistently like 1/4 to a 1/2 inch shorter. You like him at guard. I actually like him at center. Basketball center. However, just to like add a little bit of a note on Holland Pierce, when I got eyes on him, I was expecting a player whose hands were just a disaster. Like, who's the guy the Dolphins took last year as sort of...
Patrick Paul.
Yeah, I was expecting something like that,
That
and I
makes
was
sense.
very pleasantly surprised. That just was not the case. So I also walked away higher on Holland Pierce, and I didn't make the connection to moving him into guard, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
Well,
gotta get him on my board as a guard.
There was a couple of times where I saw him playing in close quarters where it was like there was a couple of play action plays where they ran 12 personnel or 13 personnel, and he was basically playing the equivalent of a guard with tackle help on the outside. And that was like, there it is. That's what it is.
Sure.
He's going up against a 5-tech. That is what we need. That's exactly how it'll work, and it was just incredible. And also, I was expecting a guy who just did not know how to carry that weight. He did not know how to move. He was a lumbering mover, yes, but he looked comfortable at the very least.
Getting the most out of it.
Yeah, he got the most out of something that's there's not too much there, but he got the most out of it. So I'm not really concerned about how well he carries himself. He looks like a natural carrier of that weight.
Is it time to flip over to the defensive side of the ball?
Who's your guy?
I said my guy.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Luke Kendra. I forgot.
I know he's kind of forgettable.
No, I forgot. I forgot that
He's
he
a
was,
guard's guard.
Yeah. So Willie Lampkin, Holland Pierce. I'd also just like to. We won't talk about him at all because he's been talked about plenty of times, and we'll talk about him in the mock drafts next week. Gray Zabel, I think he's going to be a fantastic guard or center at the next level. He's probably going to be a Pro Bowler at that position. He's just a really good player. He'll go in the top 20. People will be surprised. I won't. All right.
Good scheme fit for like the Seahawks. That's where they might go, I think.
Yeah, 18. Him or Banks if they're there.
Yep.
It just makes so much
Banks
sense.
is the dream fit. Edge rusher or interior?
Let's do interior.
Okay.
I want to do that. So I just went with two guys. That was a long spiel. So let's hear yours.
So, I only have one guy on the interior.
No, you're my guy for interior defensive line.
I felt like there were a decent amount of options, guys that I'm just like reasonably high on.
It's hard.
And the one I decided to go with, this is a guy whose name I've had in my head for a while, and I've always just kind of been impressed with him. And I figured that the consensus board was coming around on him. And then I checked, and it wasn't. Where do they have Tonka Hemingway right now? They have him at 228, so a mid-7th round pick. And considering some of the praise that the Omar Norman Lott, and I actually mean Omar Norman Lott and not Derek Harmon this time, considering the praise that those type of disruptive, penetrating, Aeneas Peebles is another example, that they're getting, it feels unfair that Tonka Hemingway is considered like a fringe draftable prospect. Because is he quite as freaky of an athlete? No. But fundamentally, he plays the same role as a 3-tech that they like to move around. They like to loop him around on stunts. He's, I think, got a better bag of pass rush moves than certainly Norman Lott does. He actually has a variety of ways to win. Very nice arm over, very nice sort of club rip move, and he can just win off pure athleticism as well. And with that first step, not the strongest player. Again, you're deploying him as a 3-tech in the NFL. This is not going to be a 3-down starter. And I saw the trait I was looking for, which is the strength to sort of wrench through interior linemen when you have the angle advantage. He plays hard. I don't think he has like the most insane motor in the world, but it's definitely good enough. And it just kept coming up to me when I was watching him. He makes plays at the right times. He didn't bat a ton of passes this year, which I thought was kind of surprising because he was constantly getting his arms up and interfering with passing lanes. And sure enough, I check out his stats, and he swatted 6 last year. And this isn't a guy with, like, freaky long arms. They're only okay. He finds the ball quickly when it's on the ground. He can punch it out every once in a while. And against base blocks, because, look, even, like, the most pass rush-focused defensive tackles in the NFL are going to be out there on some rundowns. I actually think he's not terrible. Like, he's going to get detonated on late arriving combo blocks. He's going to get put in the next gap over. But he actually has, I think, very good run diagnostics where he can consistently flow toward the play. And when things get murky, he does find the ball, and he does get arms on the ball carrier, and he is strong enough to bring him down. He's a more impactful chase and tackle sort of interior lineman than like 90% are, because he is athletic and he is a good overall mover. The one thing that left me really disappointed is he is a bad play finisher. He just does not tackle well. He's explosive enough and agile enough, but there's another athletic trait that I don't think gets talked about, and to me that's just what I would call reaction time. It feels like even though he's a smart player, he sees things a little slow. I just don't care all that much when this is, a penetrating 3-tech who's not going to be out there against the run very often, and you're just sticking him out there to do some damage, get into the backfield, and make things harder on the offense. I think Tonka Hemingway can do that. High character guy. You get him in the 7th round, you are living good.
You're excited. I watched him when I watched T.J. Sanders, and call me crazy, but the gap between him and T.J. Sanders is really small.
I don't know if I'd say really small, but not nearly as big as it's being projected. I wholeheartedly agree.
I would say really small. That's more of a factor of me being completely out on TJ Sanders as a whole. This is a My Guys episode, not a Not My Guys episode. But if it was a Not My Guys episode, I think TJ Sanders would be my guy for this draft. But Hemingway, I saw a lot of what you did when I watched him. I came away high on him too. He was one of my honorable mentions for this list. So he's a great player. Again, is he going to be a consistent? He's not going to be a 3-down starter. Of course not. But it's, again, I will stress it a million times in this podcast. I've done it for the past 2 hours. It's been 2 hours. And I will do it for the next 2 hours.
Yes, we will.
The 7th round, I don't give a shit about your deficiencies. If you can play, I give a shit about what you can do. The only time I really care about your deficiencies are in day 1 and to an extent day 2. In day 3, it's all about what you can do, what you can bring to the team. There's a lot Tonka Hemingway can bring to the team. You're watching Tonka Hemingway side by side with TJ Sanders, legitimately a better pass rusher. And I'm not even being hyperbolic. He's a better pass rusher because he can shoot the gap and he knows what he's doing. He's clever with his use of hands sometimes. It's just like, it's crafty and clever. And I don't know how to describe it, but there's just something about the way he moves, the way he uses his hands that leaves interior guys kind of dumbfounded. Like, I don't know what just happened to me. They just don't. Sometimes it's just like he gets through guys and you're just like, I'm not quite sure how he just got through that guy. And I don't think the interior offensive lineman is quite sure how he got through that guy, but he did. So it works.
He's got sort of an interior ghost move to him.
Yeah.
And he's got some good, like, side fakes, I guess is a way you'd put it, where it's more than just like using a cross chop, for example.
He's a good lateral athlete.
He's a good lateral athlete, and he knows how to set stuff up properly. That's not common on the interior.
And he's quality. He's got a fine bull rush, which is rare for a penetrating 3-tech that's mostly building their game off of athleticism. Is a little undersized, right? The hands are the length mostly.
Well, he's 284, which is really small. He's actually got 33 and 3/8 inch arms at his pro day.
Length is, well, that's better.
It's
than I thought
very
it would.
average.
Yeah,
it's okay.
He's pretty undersized at 284, but okay bull rush, which is really good for that. Pound for pound, a decent bull rush. So he's a fun player, just a guy that will be a rotational pass rusher at the next level, and maybe he doesn't work out, but he could be a really solid piece of a rotation.
In this deep defensive line class, I'm excited to hear who your guys are.
Oh, man. I have to choose. I just went with two guys, so I am going to choose. Yeah, all right. This is a guy that I don't think I'm that much higher on than consensus, but I think that he is a consensus second to third round guy. I have him as a true 2. I'm not that much higher on people, but I have not, for all of those people in this range, I never hear this guy's name get mentioned. That's Alfred Collins out of Texas.
He does get ignored, doesn't he?
But man, well, I don't know why he's getting ignored. Well, I do know why he's getting ignored, because he's an elite run defender and a raw pass rusher, and people like to focus on the pass rush. And I don't think people realize how good of a run defender he is. So he is the best run defender in this class. And Kenneth Grant is in this class. So that's saying a lot. He is better than Kenneth Grant at the run defense, and I am a massive Kenneth Grant guy. Like, Alfred Collins is a run defender, maybe one of the best run defenders I've ever seen. I mean, coming out of college, he's going to come into the league and immediately be above average to maybe even great run defender. This is a guy that you put in there and you just know you're going to be fine. He is one of the best 2-gappers in college football, will be one of the best 2-gappers in the league. And when I say 2-gappers, I mean legitimate 2-gapper. He's not a guy that, like, okay, I'm going to take up one part of the A-gap, and the other one I've kind of half covered. No. If you go into either of the A-gaps, he will kill you. He is a bodyguard for the linebackers almost. The Texas linebackers just did not see any play because they had Alfred Collins in the front protecting him. His anchor is a thing of beauty. Watching him just get down to one knee while a center and guard, 625 pounds of force are coming right at him, and he just does not move. It's beautiful. It's incredible. He just does not move when he gets hit. He discards guys with no regard for human life. He gets the hands in there quick and early, with deadly accuracy in the run game every time. Just hit the inside shoulders and just hit him, hold on, okay, ball's coming towards me, I'll see you in the next life. And then he also just doesn't miss a tackle. He's a hulking guy. He's 6'5", 320 pounds with, I believe, 34-inch arms, 35-inch arms, something insane.
34 and 5/8.
Yeah, 34 and 5/8.
Excellent.
That's a great length. So he's massive. He just swallows running backs' holes, and it's like, obviously he just sheds them and he tackles them and they go to the ground. But also, he's also an incredible arm tackler. He can bring guys down with a finger. Just get it inside the jersey and just throw him to the ground, man. So there are no flaws in his run defense. There were a couple reps, legitimately only a couple reps, where I was like, I wanted a little more on that play. I know. There's like 2 or 3 cardinal sins, but that's about it. The reason he's not going to go in the first round is because he is a very raw pass rusher. He is not a good pass rusher by any sense of the word, but the reason why I think he should go in the second round is because he's a great athlete. And there were some tiny flashes there where I'm like, the athleticism's there. He's a truly elite run defender. Honestly, if you have good athleticism and elite run defense, I'm okay taking you in the second round.
Me too.
I'm perfectly fine with it. But if you can add in a pass rushing profile, I don't say this lightly. I hate to give out high comps. I hate to compare guys to elite players. He could be Vita Vea.
Yep.
Yeah, he
there
could
it
be
is.
Vita Vea. He's not as big as Vita Vea.
I wasn't going to say
he
it.
could be Vita Vea. And I hate you. I feel like you know how much I hate to give out comps, period. I just don't like him because it's so hard for me to watch guys and see that's the same guy, because everyone has their own little intricacies and nuances that are specific to their game. But when I'm watching Alfred Collins, it's hard not to think of the best run defending tackle in the NFL, and that's Vita Vea, who discards guys. He's nasty. He is mean on the field, but a super cool guy off the field. You know what I mean? I don't think we've had any bad reports from Alfred Collins. There was a lot of people that went to Texas Pro Day or the Combine. They talked to Alfred Collins. They said he knowledgeable about football. He wanted to talk about it. So that's always a plus. You know what I mean? But as a pass rusher, let's talk about it quickly. Where you obviously see the most is there were a couple times where the bull rush was truly crippling. And I was like, okay, that was great. What he needs to do is he just needs to throw yourself at the center or the guard. I know I tell people not to do that. You need to just throw yourself, man, because it's better than what he does, which is just dance around the line without doing much. Throw yourself at the interior guy, land the hands, which I know you can do because you do it in the run game all the time, and then use your absurd strength to drive him backwards. Good get off, really good lateral agility as far as just staying in phase, going to the left or going to the right with a guard and making the tackle. He's an incredible player. He's massive. He's a good athlete, an elite run defender. You bring along the pass rush, he becomes Vita Vea. I honestly may have just talked myself into giving him 1 through 2. I don't think I will. I don't think I will, because you do need some semblance of pass rushing. But at worst, he's a guy you throw in on early downs, and you are so secure about that. And at best, he's a game-breaking defensive tackle. So Collins, if the Bills take him at 62, that will immediately be a B or higher draft, just because of that one pick.
He is another percentile buster on my big board. 85-inch wingspan. The highest I have listed is 84 3/4. So that's glowing bright green. How is Texas so good at developing these guys? You mentioned how
and they always work in the league too. Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy had great rookie years.
Did Byron Murphy produce? I know Tavondre Sweat was excellent.
He produced a fair bit, especially towards the latter half
True.
of the year. It was
a
slow
he got
start.
Hotter.
Yeah.
I was actually just going to bring up Byron Murphy because you mentioned that sort of interesting move where you're playing with leverage and sort of dropping to a knee against a double team and kind of like choosing that way to split it. Another player who did that is Byron Murphy. So Texas just continues to be a defensive line factory. I mean, they have, who's the guy who played beside him? Vernon Broughton, who's another size outlier who does some really nice stuff as well.
Fun player.
This entire Texas defensive line could be a my guy.
Yeah, 100%. But I feel like I had to mention Alfred Collins. I do come in higher on him than consensus, but not that much higher. I don't know why he's not getting so much hype, because he's just a fun player to watch, and he's so good at one thing, which is so rare to find. It's rare to find someone who's so good at run defense, especially in an increasingly focus on pass rushing from the interior defensive line. Finding a guy who can maybe pass rush, but is also takes pride in defending the run that well, that's really good to see.
It's the upside for me, because there are guys who can be big in the middle of the defense farther down the board. I think of like Thor Griffith from Louisville, who has good number athleticism. I think on the field it's a little bit less. So CJ West from Indiana, he's kind of crafty. He doesn't have the ceiling that Collins has. But like Nazir Stackhouse comes to mind. He doesn't have that upside. Phillips from Maryland doesn't have that upside. It's Kenneth Grantian, and just a little bit different. Yeah. So I think that's a good way to put it.
That's what I've been saying this time. I have a 1 through 2 on Kenneth Grant. If you want Kenneth Grant in the second round, just take Alfred Collins. Also, you should take Kenneth Grant in the first round because he's also a damn good player.
Fair enough. You said you had another guy on the defensive line?
Yeah, but I just talked for a long time about Collins. We'll briefly talk about my guy after that, but I want to hear your guy.
I told you my guy. Tonka.
I'm an idiot, man. I cannot keep things straight. Because I keep thinking that, like, I mean, I know you're.
Well, these are good conversations.
Yeah, no, and it's not that I'm forgetting about it. It's just I have it filed away. It's just like.
Well, I do want to talk about Tonka some more. What is his real first name? Let me find this out real quick. Because I highly doubt that it's Tonka, but if it is, he's instantly shooting up a round grade on my board.
Yeah. That's fair.
His real name is Terrell Hemingway, which is solid in its own right, but I like Tonka better.
Solid name. All right, the other guy I want to talk about was Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon.
Oh, sure.
They got a 3 through 4 on him. He's honestly, I was close to giving him a true 3 as well. He's a really good player. He's like a consensus late 4th, early 5th kind of guy. But he's pretty big. I mean, he's 340. He's a true nose tackle. He plays like 1-2. He's quick. For a nose tackle,
That's what stood out to me.
He gets off the line. He rarely misses the hands in the run defense. Most of the time, he's just going to get there. He's a great anchor. Like, you are just not really going to move him that well. Another guy that I don't know, he's not a 2-gapper like Collins, but he's definitely a 1.5 at the very least, and sometimes he can control the 2. I'd like to see some improvements on the tackling, but overall, he diagnoses the run really well. He knows what he's doing. He's got shorter arms, so he does struggle to shed sometimes. Like, most of the times it's good, though, but when he gets into really close quarters, sometimes against bigger linemen, he will struggle to get off the ball. But he is just a guy that's going to come in. He's going to do the job. He's going to fill the gaps, and he will get off the ball really quickly. He's never going to be that guy. He's not going to be the penetrator. He's not going to be the playmaker. He's going to fill the gap. He's going to get a high run stop rate every year, and he will be a sufficient enough pass rusher for you to justify keeping him out there on third downs. He's solid enough at it. Again, I don't think he's ever going to be like a 6 to 8 sack a year guy, but this is a guy come in, get 3 sacks a year, have a 9% run stop rate, be your number 2 defensive tackle, or your number 2 or number 3, and a guy you're just really happy with. Is a solid starter, which is in the 4th round of this class. That's really great to get.
I see people kind of whine about his tackling and his mediocre hand usage as a rusher, and it's like, this is not a guy we're talking about on day 2. Again, focus on what he can do, and there's a lot that he can do.
He's just a fundamentally sound football player, and that's rare to find in day 3. This fundamentally sound of a football player who's also got some athletic juice, size, and overall just funness to him. Also, one thing that makes him a little bit more okay with his tackling is Derek Harmon's tackling was also awful at Oregon. He's a 27% missed tackle rate.
That's really bad.
Caldwell had 19, so it's worse. So it's better. But it's also like, if Harmon and Caldwell are both doing it, maybe it's some factor of coaching. Maybe they're not teaching that well. So it's possible it's just a coincidence, but maybe something's going on in Oregon. But Birch, the edge there, was a fantastic tackler, so I don't know. But it's possible that it's a coaching issue. It gets ironed out in the league. But I really wanted to talk about Caldwell because I also think he's a fantastic player.
Are we ready to kick to the outside and talk edge rushers?
Yep, let's talk edge.
Do you want to start off?
All right, I can. I'm going to talk for less time on this because, honestly, there was no edge that I really wanted to spend too much time on.
Which is funny in this class, actually.
That's because every edge
just
is
all
so
of them.
highly touted. So it's hard to find a my guy when everybody loves everybody, you know what I mean? So all of these are my guys because they're all fantastic players.
I hate the chair. I'm willing to say that. I am not a Jack Sawyer guy.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. The chair is not for everybody. I get that.
I hate James Pierce Jr. Mike Green and Landon Jackson, I'm about consensus on.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are maybe 2 players in this. And I can't even hate Jack Sawyer. There's nothing hateable about him whatsoever. He's just the chair.
Take him in the 3rd round, and he'll be a chair out there for you.
Chair. Yeah, everybody needs a nice chair.
Exactly. But there's so many guys that I love in this class. But the guy I came in considerably higher on consensus that I recently just watched is Q Robinson out of Alabama.
I love that you got his name right.
I did, yes.
That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, everybody says
I
K,
never hear
right?
it. Well, it's spelled like Quay, and he plays. Well, he used to play now. Rusaw's still there. He plays next to Quay Rusaw, who is actually a Quay and not a Q, and they're spelled exactly the same. What are you gonna do?
It's Q Robinson. Full name is Quandarius Robinson, I believe.
Quandarius, yep.
Quandarius Robinson.
This is ball knowledge.
This is ball knowledge. But when you talk about Q Robinson, you gotta just. This is a guy who is, I think, consensus late 4th, early 5th, kind of
lower.
Yeah, lower down the
6th,
board.
7th.
But the athleticism is popping on tape. Like, this is a guy with legit 1st-round athleticism, honest to God. I'll say 2nd-round athleticism just because I don't think the bend is all the way there.
It's nasty.
Solid. Bend is solid, but I don't think it's like elite or anything. But he gets off the line like nobody's business. Where do I have him in overall grade? Like his athleticism grade? Well, it's actually decently low because of the size grade, but because he's not the biggest guy. But still, up there with the
Got
best
33
guys.
and a half inch arms, rock solid for his size.
So he's got long arms for his he's got long arms. 33 and a half is perfectly good enough for edge. Mikael Williams is 34.
It's like, yeah, it's like 55th percentile.
That's plus athleticism. That's plus long. But he's 243, and he definitely looks the part. He's not a fully filled out frame, even though I do think he's got some strength to him. But I give him A- speed, A- agility, A- acceleration because it's all really good. The speed, the get off is just freaky, man. He just explodes off the line, and it's just hard to get a hand on him because again, when you try to get a hand on him, well, he's either going to go to the outside and beat you that way with adequate bend, not great. If he had great bend, he'd be like a round higher. I'd be talking about him as a 2 through 3 who's just a pure athletic project, but he's a well, what did I give him? I gave him the 3 through 4. So it's great, but the lateral agility, bend is not lateral agility, guys. It's not. Bend is completely different. Lateral agility is how well you can move laterally. Bend is a entirely different thing.
How well you can bend.
Yeah, it's how well you can bend, which is, it sounds like the same thing, but trust me, it's not. He's a very sudden lateral athlete, can move side to side really well, which allows, it's just so hard to stop him on the counter. If he can develop a counter move, he's going to be unbeatable. But then you pair all this with really good speed to power, and a picture of a very great pass rusher comes into view. But the problem with that is he's a very raw player. You know what I mean? He doesn't really have much of a plan in how he's going to attack the tackle. He doesn't have many moves under his belt that he's tried, but I will say he's tried some stuff, but he doesn't do it consistently. He's 23-year-old senior as well. So that immediately is just like, he's not in great company. Generally, this kind of stuff doesn't work out, but if it does, it's going to be pretty good. And I saw more flashes from him in the pass rush game than I did other guys like this. And that's why I like him so much, because he did flash more. I saw improvement from last year to this year, especially with the ghost rush. I mean, man, even over this season, early this season, the ghost rush was terrible. Late this season, he pulled it off a couple times, and I was like, that was beautiful. As a run defender, he's very inconsistent, but again, the flashes of elite plays there. Bending the knees is great, but again, it's not great. He's just very raw, but he also had a 24% pass rush win rate. Yeah, it was on 246 snaps, but he's also a great finisher, 9-19 on sacks plus hits to pressure ratio. So, again, I'm not like he's going to be a great player in the next level. I'm just saying I don't know why he's not talked about as a potential day 2 guy, because the NFL is not letting this athleticism get out of day 2. And when there is enough show of the bull rush, of the long arm, of a ghost rush, of an outside chop, of a spin move, if some defensive line coach is going to look at him and be like, I can work with that, and they might turn him into a really good edge rusher at the next level.
So I see what you see with Q Robinson, particularly in the athleticism, which just pops immediately. Once he gets eyes on the quarterback, his closing burst is vicious. I think that's one of the ways where he only had 3 sacks, probably technically fewer than that because PFF counts half sacks as sacks, which, by the way, I do like. I think one of the reasons he was able to farm some of those hits is because they used him in kind of this pseudo linebacker jack role where he was able to get some unblocked pressures. And if you give him an opportunity to hit somebody, he will get on them immediately. He will square them up, and he will punish guys.
And when he's kind of sitting on the line there, if he sees a hold of the quarterback, he's gone. He's going to hit him.
Immediately through it.
Yeah.
I like the mode of operation he plays with. I was expecting him to be sort of a completely out-of-control tackler, and I didn't see that. And I even saw a little bit of ability to dig his heels in and not catastrophically lose the edge, which as a guy who looks like he's 238 out there, super athletically built, but just not a lot of meat on the bones. I wasn't expecting that.
In the Vanderbilt game, there were some times where he drops the knee, gets the hands in there, and he just couldn't be moved.
The reason that I'm the same as consensus to lower on him is what you touched on. He's a fifth-year senior. He's going to turn 24 a few days after the draft. In his breakout season at Alabama, where the coaching is obviously very good, routinely putting defensive players into the league, in his breakout season, he had 19 total pressures. Last year he had 5. The year before that he had 1. And I still think that he's a really bad pass rusher. Don't get me wrong. I think there are ways to use him and make him efficient and get him a pretty high pass rush win rate. Probably not in true pass sets. I'd be interested to know what his true pass rush win rate is, because sometimes the guys who are really athletic are just good regardless.
Well, that was 24% is his true pass rush win rate.
That's his true pass rush win rate?
Well, I don't know.
Or his true pass set, I suppose.
Yeah, it's, well, let me see.
That would make sense.
24% pass rush win rate. So let me see if I can find it. You keep talking.
Okay. I didn't see a good move set. Like you said, he tried some stuff. I saw like a pretty decent arm over move because he is a very fluid athlete. I saw the long arm. I saw some of the ghost ability. I also saw a player with really bad aiming points who had a tendency to get absolutely pancaked and thrown on the ground all the time, breach and contain. It's really tough for me to bet on him. He had a DUI a few years back. One of the reasons I think people are lower on him now is he missed a lot of the pre-draft process with an injury. Man, I don't put like an insane amount of stock into breakout age, but it does matter to me. And the big question I have for Q Robinson is, why were you not better than you were in college? I know that the way he was used was kind of unique, but I just wish I could see a little bit more. To me, he's still a really big-time projection, but I do think that at worst, he is a rosterable player. He's really athletic. He's going to go out there and he's going to play hard and hit people. That guy's going to make your 53-man roster. Projects as a good special teamer as well.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing is, he did not get many opportunities early on in his career, which it worries me, and I'm totally with you on everything you said. I agree. It's just I value the traits, and I think I saw enough to the point where I'm like, yeah, this could feasibly work out. And it's also like, yeah, he did get 19 pressures, but on 108 pass rush snaps. So,
but why wasn't he out there more? That's a fair point, though.
Valid question.
Very efficient.
That's a valid question. Why was he not out there more? And it's a question. That's why. I mean, if he was, that's why he's like a 3 through 4 for me. He's not a 2 through 3 because the stuff when he was on the field, again, it was like legitimately his tape was 2 through 3 kind of stuff as far as athleticism and enough flashes. If he was a 21-year-old junior who got out there 400 snaps instead of 250, he's probably a 2 through 3 for me. But he's a 3 through 4 just because, again, most likely he does not become a starter in the league. I agree. But there is enough there, again, where I'm just like, and sometimes teams just miss. They don't play the guys. They just don't play right guys, especially in a new coaching staff in Alabama. Maybe something goes wrong. I don't know. I didn't know about the DUI. It's slightly concerning. Maybe knock him down to a true 4 for that. But
and it was a while ago, to be fair.
Yeah,
it was like a couple seasons.
Fair enough. So, again, it's also a kind of guy that I think is interesting, especially how they deployed him in Alabama with Jihad Campbell. He can be a 67% edge rusher, 33% Sam linebacker, and play him with a guy who's a 67% Sam linebacker, 33% edge rusher, and really get funky with it. Because he did have like kind of a natural feel in coverage. It looked pretty.
It was better than the average edge player, I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, he looked like he knew what he was doing back there. I also believe he played some linebacker earlier in his career. So maybe that was the reason he didn't get on the field as much as an edge. Maybe he's not as developed because of that. So I like Q Robinson quite a bit. And the run stop rate was also pretty good as far as making the plays. He's a quality tackler. He does some things right, and I'm willing to take a shot on the traits because the past round 4, there's not as many edge rushers that I really love, and he was probably the one that stood up to me the most.
Now I'm here to talk about a player who is the opposite of Q Robinson. He's the chair. However, he's like a nice velvety chair. Like he's the chair with some upside to be a little bit more than just the lawn chair that you see out on the green grass from your porch.
He's not the lawn. Jack Sawyer's not the lawn chair.
That's a terrible comp for Jack Sawyer. That's my bad. But I think Elijah Roberts out of SMU can be a little bit more than the type of chair that Jack Sawyer is because they play very similar ball games. How big is Elijah Roberts? The dude is fucking massive for an edge rusher.
He's like 270-something, isn't he?
He's 285 at the combine, and I think he played heavier than that in college because he looked like it. By the way, 4.78, 1.67 were his speed splits. He's fairly explosive as well. Like, all of his athleticism is like 35th, 40th percentile. For a guy who has the size of a 3-tech and maybe more, depending on what he actually played at, I like his get-off. I think his get-off is fine. Don't get me wrong. His pursuit speed will see him just completely factored out of the play if they're going to run something like a bootleg. There are certain things he can't do. He was used in a very traditional edge role where they would play him standing up and with a hand in the dirt occasionally. They would even, do the sort of Q Robinson thing and mug him up over the center and let him wreak havoc against interior linemen. And he was really effective. So this is a guy who has outlier size, but is really maximizing it, using it to its maximum potential. He gives you everything that you expect in terms of run defense. An immovable object on the edge. I love his diagnostics, a guy who is always forcing his way toward the play and constricting gaps. When it comes time to finish the play, it's excellent. I love a lot. You kind of talked about this with Alfred Collins, a defensive lineman who can make a convincing arm tackle, who can get one paw on you and just put you on the ground.
That translates.
That translates, and that is something that Elijah Roberts can do. And then as a pass rusher, surely he's not at all good, right? Well,
yeah, surely.
Let me bring up his pressure numbers. And look, I'm not saying that all of this is going to translate.
Yeah. That's the pressure numbers are sometimes Q Robinson's not going to have a 24% pass rush win rate in the league.
That we know of. He becomes Jalen Hunt on the Eagles.
Oh, yeah.
They use him as a rotational pass rusher.
Elijah Roberts will have what's the pressure?
He will have I don't have the pressure rate in front of me, but he has 131 total pressures over the last 2 seasons.
Christ.
He was ridiculously productive at SMU. I get it, not the highest level of competition. Showed out against Clemson. Showed out against BYU and Duke. You have limited opportunities. He went up against some tackles that didn't suck, and he went to work. He's got actually a pretty decent bag of pass rush moves, I think. He really weaponizes his long arms. How long are his arms? Because
you have to be 34 plus.
He's got just powerful. They're actually not. They're 33 and 5/8, which is still plus with an even better wingspan and huge hands.
His wingspan has got to be big then.
Yes, it's 82 and a half, which is glowing green on my screen. Yeah. He really knows how to maximize torque and just deal devastating punches that there were times where he could split double teams. However, here's what gets me a little bit excited about him. He doesn't go to the bull rush very often. But when he does, he fucking ragdolls guys. And it's like...
Same with Collins.
Elijah, maybe show that more? Because...
maybe do the thing you're awesome at a little more.
Well, 131 pressures. Obviously, he's not living too bad.
Maybe do the other thing.
If this is a guy who has adequate get-off and can win using coordinated, powerful strikes with his long arms, and he has a good bull rush, and he's... one of the best run-defending edge rushers in the NFL. I think that's what he can grow into. He's smart. He's experienced. But he's only going to be 23 as a rookie. He's not like his 26-year-old Karine Reed out of Utah, for example. I see this as a potential plus starter, and I don't see that with someone like Jack Sawyer, who I think can be Sam Hubbard at best. That is why I am higher overall on Elijah Roberts, a player that I like a whole lot.
Fair enough, man. I mean, I watched him too. Because he wasn't on my board originally, but then I watched a fair few SMU games this past year because they were making closer to the playoffs, and that game against Clemson, he popped. He was just not getting beat. I mean, he was beating everybody. So I added him to my board, and I watched him a little bit, and he wasn't an honorable mention for me just because there's so many guys in this class, but I really just wanted to talk about Q Robinson, but he's a damn good player, and I totally get it. Came away with if he goes in the 3rd round, I'm not upset at it at all. I think a coach should probably have the right plan for how to deal with him because he's a little bit of that tweener. I'm not sure where you play at the next level, but if a coach has a plan for him,
is he a hybrid? I think he can do some good work at 3-tech. He has some really nice flashes on pass rush downs, just working over top of interior guys.
I
just
think
saying.
He's a college hybrid. I don't think he's an NFL hybrid.
Fair enough.
I think he's not good enough at either position. He's not a good enough athlete or size guy for either position because he is a little undersized for a 3-tech, and he's not an elite athlete. He's not a great athlete for an edge, So So maybe he is, though. Maybe prove me wrong, Elijah Roberts. I really hope you do. He's a fun guy to watch. But if a coach drafts him with the right plan, it's going to be fun to watch at the next level.
One more guy I want to shout out
All right.
is David Walker out of Central Arkansas.
Yeah.
Very low level of competition, and holy hell did he dominate it. He was ridiculously productive, and he just plays kind of psychotic. A dude with a super muscular build. What are his measurables? So he's a big-time size outlier, which is why he's not being mocked higher. Arms coming in just under 32 inches, just a shade under 6'1", 263. And look, it's never easy to project guys from Central Arkansas into the league, but you saw all of it when he was at the Senior Bowl. That's when he got added to my radar. He's actually kind of got like a slate of pass rush moves. He plays with a good head on his shoulders. I think I see savvy in his game, which I wasn't expecting. I think he could go day 2. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's where I'd take him. If I'm going to bet on an outlier, I'd rather take Josiah Stewart. But 4th round, Philadelphia Eagles, sign me up.
Speaking of Stewart, I got to him. I watched him.
What do you think?
He's a great player, man. He's on my top 10
Let's go.
now.
Let's go.
He eclipsed Sawyer. He eclipsed Landon Jackson. He's 9 below Swinson.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, Swinson, another guy I wanted to mention. He's a sort of my guy. I really like him. But the consensus board has gone higher on him.
He's moving up.
And a guy I really wanted to talk about today, but has risen drastically in draft circles recently. I'd like to just plant my flag and say I have been on Oluwafemi Oladejo from the beginning.
There you go.
And now people are saying, yeah, he's a true 3. He's a 2 through 3. Yeah, that's about where I have him. So I can't really say he's a my guy because everybody agrees now. But when everybody was on the 4 through, he was a clear day 3, not considered in day 2, and I had him as a firm day 2 prospect. He was definitely a my guy. He's a very fun player. A guy who's kind of raw as an edge rusher, but is a little bit younger and has played linebacker every position every year up until now. Powerful, sudden. He's big. He's got long arms and good against the run. A work in progress against the pass, but you keep working at it. Plenty of improvement shown. Could be something special. And already will probably be a rotational guy just due to the size, the run defense, and the overall feel for the run because of that linebacker background.
Dominant Senior Bowl. So to me, that indicates that his development track, it's headed in the right direction. Like you mentioned, converted off-ball backer. He's a little bit like Abdul Carter, but good.
Yeah, exactly. That's my comment for him. Abdul Carter, but good.
Is that enough defensive line talk up to the second level?
I think that is. That's the trenches. Whew, boy. Yeah, that's the trenches.
Great
All right,
conversation.
Yeah. The second level, the back half of the front 7. You want to go first?
Sure, I can. So my player here is a pretty deep cut. That was a pop. My player here is a pretty deep cut. Let me find out where Francisco Mauigoa out of Miami is on the consensus board.
289.
280. Okay, so in that priority free agent range, he to me is a player who deserves to be drafted because the first thing you notice when you watch Francisco Mauigoa is just how big and rocked up he is compared to everybody next to him, and you're like, okay, I know this type. He's a big, smart, thumping linebacker at a big school, and people are going to like him because he's a big, smart, thumping linebacker at a big school, and he's not going to be a pro athlete, and he's going to have no idea what's going on in coverage, which is kind of true, but we'll get to that in a moment. And he's not going to be an NFL guy. And then you watch him chase sideline to sideline, and it's like, oh, okay, this guy is a plus athlete. I like his agility. I think he has some nice ability to kind of skate through corridors and into the backfield. I like his overall twitch and explosion. He can kind of handle man coverage a little bit, which, as a true Mike linebacker, a guy who's playing at 235, maybe a shade above. That's the weight that he tested at, and he certainly looks bigger than it. You don't expect him to be able to run any man-to-man whatsoever. He's got the pure sort of ability to push the feet into the ground. That's what I classify as explosiveness, is really anything where you have to push off and exert your weight into the ground. And he can do that, but he also has very good hip discipline. He doesn't open up too early. He doesn't tend to open up too late. And he really weaponizes the bump zone. He is one of these guys where inside 5 yards, he treats you like a ball carrier, and he wants to put you on the ground. Now, does he get grabby at times? Sure. But that doesn't usually get called against linebackers. I think it's a lot more rare for linebackers to get called for kind of mugging up a running back on an option route versus like cornerbacks touching a wide receiver literally at all downfield.
They feel bad for him. They see the 250-pound guy trying to keep up with the 200-pound. It's like, okay, let's hold the flag, guys.
This is equity, folks. Like this is just leveling the playing field.
Exactly.
So I think he can do some coverage stuff. He's not instinctive in zone. He has a late trigger on stuff underneath. He tends to not feel cross or scraping over top. He also will just really inexplicably choose spots to drop to at times where it's like, all right, so he's in the hook area, and that's where the wide receiver is settling down. Oh, nice job. You kind of stumbled into covering a guy. Why are you going upfield? No, stop. And then the quarterback sees the linebacker running away from his receiver, and he's like, all right, I'm going to check it down, and now that's a 15-yard gain. Those plays are not super common. I think he's fine. There are some moments where he can cover guys in zone, and it's enough. Because his ability in the run fit is top tier. He can find the ball the easy way or the hard way, where he has some of that twitch ability to work underneath and use his hands to dissect blocks. There are times where he can just juke climbing guards and centers as a linebacker who's 235, not even get touched, and make the play. But in terms of holding the point of attack, I think it's becoming a lost art in the NFL to have a Mike linebacker who can actually take on a guard, take like 2 steps back, and then dig the heels in and be stationary. Francisco Mauigoa did that plenty. He's going to stack, he's going to shed, and he's going to hit the ball carrier hard. He has a real knack for punching the ball out. Another one of these just kind of clutch playmaker types. Because his arms are long and he's so powerful, when he is able to keep targets contested, he's going to punch the ball out and force incompletions, not just fumbles. The reason that I have somewhere in the neighborhood of a 5th to a 6th round grade on him, he's a really underwhelming tackler, and it just broke my heart because he could have been like a true 3rd or 4th round grade for me as, kind of a gem. Like he's around the 300s, a player I was really excited for. I think he can get better because he's strong and he's an okay athlete, but it goes back to reaction time. He's really good at tackling where the guy used to be and not where the guy is. It's not egregious. When he gets arms around the guy, he's usually going to make the play. Like I mentioned, he's punishing, he's deflating. His consistency is only like a 3 or a 4 out of 10. It's not like a 1 or a 2 out of 10. I think you can salvage that. The reason I came up a little higher on him, though, he's going to be an insane special teamer. Did it at Miami. He was fantastic. You'll notice a lot of these guys, when they just have to run downfield and tackle the ball carrier, it tends to get better because they're arriving with the ball carrier having less time to kind of put a move on him. It's just more linear, and he can absolutely do that. This is a team leader. Scouts gush about his football character. Had, I think, the best GPA on the Florida football team. He kind of stands out in every aspect, and he is a Mike linebacker through and through. You mentioned, who was it who... It was Crenshaw Dixon pointing out to his teammates pre-snap where the blitz is gonna come from. Mauigoa he's like a babysitter on the Miami defense. The amount of times that he's just like got his arms around the will linebacker and is moving him somewhere else, it's hilarious to see. Is he gonna be a starter in the league? Probably not. I don't think it's impossible because if he can clean up the tackling and just play a little bit further ahead of the curve, he's got all the tools, but he's going to be a really fun, sort of thumping, I think, 3rd linebacker, a demon special teamer, a guy who's going to be a good pair of eyes in the film room. I'm really excited about Francisco Mauigoa.
Yeah, I mean, when you said a guy that I'd never even heard of, that's a deep cut. So I'm surprised I haven't heard of him if he's in the top 300, but still, that's an interesting prospect. It's always weird when you get guys like that where he's a player that thrives in some aspects that he's not supposed to, but then sometimes, but he's just like, you're missing one key area, in this case the tackling. It's like, oh,
and he kills people as a blitzer, by the way, so add that onto the list
too. You're missing one key aspect that brings you down. Damn, man, that's kind of like my guy at linebacker.
Who you got?
So to preface this is everybody's heard of this guy. He's a top.
I think I know who it is.
Yeah, because we had to talk about this yesterday. You do know who this is, but probably you do. I'll do my little spiel and then you'll see if it was right. But talk about a guy that you feel great about at every aspect except for this one thing that brings you down from the grade that you want to give to the grade that you do give. Still am incredibly higher on him than consensus, but it brought me down from one of the best true tape grades that I've ever given to a linebacker, and that is Demetrius Knight Jr. out of South Carolina.
Oh, I was actually thinking Danny Stutzman.
Really? What? I said it. Oh, yeah, I guess Oklahoma is in the SEC now.
Yeah.
I forgot
which was
about
a little
that.
bit gross, but yeah.
Stutzman is a honorable mention because I love his game.
He's just really good.
That's going to be a guy who's just going to be your number 2 linebacker for 7 years.
Do you think he can play coverage?
No, but he doesn't need to.
Fair enough.
I mean, he can. He can do it. It's just not going to be great. Demetrius Knight Jr. Is the best linebacker prospect I have watched since Devin Lloyd.
Okay.
In 2022. As far as just watching the pure tape, he is a better linebacking prospect than Jihad Campbell is. He came in at number... Let me look. Sorry. Now, overall prospect, he is my number 2 linebacker. Jihad Campbell came in 1 slot higher. Campbell is number 19 on my big board. Demetrius Knight Jr. is number 20 on my big board. He's number 70 on the consensus board. And I need someone to explain to me what I'm missing on him. Now, the big thing that brings him down from top 10 to true 1 is that he is 25 years of age. And yeah, that's not, people don't want to draft an older prospect because it means that they have a lower chance that they're going to be able to learn more from you. They're more set in their ways. They've played more time. They've probably gotten the most out of what they're going to get. And they're going to be able to play for less time in the league. That bothers me less first at the linebacker position, first of all, because let's say you draft a 21-year-old linebacker who has no idea how to play football. Maybe it takes him 4 years to get to where Demetrius Knight Jr. is right now, if he ever gets there, because Demetrius Knight Jr. is one of the most polished linebackers you will ever see come into the NFL. Day 1, he is going to be a plus starter for you. Average to plus starter. And his career really depends on how good he is day 1, because that's likely who he will be. But there is a shot that he comes into the league and he is an above-average starter in his first year. And for the next 5 years, he just is an above-average starter, or even learns some of the more NFL nuances from NFL coaches, a step up, and becomes an elite linebacker. Maybe you only get him for 5 to 6 years. If he's a great player, 7 to 8. But still, that's still good. So I'm not as concerned about his age just because I think he's such a great player. Now let's get to the actual player. He is a fantastic athlete, 6'2", 235 pounds. He ran a 4.58 at the combine, and it shows, in my opinion. People's complaints with him. I read scouting reports. I legitimately read everybody's scouting reports on this. It's like, what am I missing? And all of them were about his athleticism.
It's good.
And I just didn't understand what I was missing, because when I'm watching him, he can carry tight ends and running backs to the edge. He can even stick with slot receivers sometimes. His acceleration is really good. What I think people are getting tripped up at is that it looks like he's not exactly a easy athlete, because he has to move 240 pounds. That's a tough thing to do. But he's still running. He's still covering the same amount of ground that this other guy is. So it's still elite. It's still great athleticism. It's just in a different way than you're used to seeing great athleticism. And then people talked about stiff hips with him. He can't change directions. That's verifiably untrue. I mean, there's one time he was running. It was the mesh. He is covering the tight end going across. Quarterback, it's zone coverage. Quarterback, I'm pretty sure, thinks it's man. The slot receiver is going across on the drag. He's going to be wide open. Quarterback's staring it down. Demetrius Knight has had his eyes on the quarterback the entire time. He's with the tight end. Receiver is like 2 or 3 yards away. He stops on a dime, accelerates at the speed of light, and tracks this receiver all the way to the edge. The quarterback is he thought that the guy was going to be wide open, so he has no idea what's going on with the rest of the play. He gets sacked because he just cannot find, because Demetrius Knight made an incredible athletic play. And it's like, what am I missing here? This is one of the better athletes at the position, if not one of the best athletes at the position. And then you talk about, okay, well, he's a great athlete. He's also incredibly polished linebacker as far as mentally. He's he's the best processor in this class. He can read the play out better than anybody. He knows exactly what angle to take, exactly what leverage to take. You talked about a guy that can just hit the guard and stick in the ground 2 feet behind. He plays incredibly strong at the point of attack. He's yoked up. He's jacked, fully filled out frame with incredible strength to take on the guard. He lands the hands. He can sift through traffic really well, just kind of find his way through the guys. His gap discipline is really good. I wouldn't say it's great. He sticks in his gap most of the time, and when he does get out of his gap, takes a risk. Generally, he makes the right decision and he makes the tackle. He is a great tackler, very strong with good tackling technique. Did have a 10% missed tackle rate.
It's not high.
It's not high at all. It's still good. It's not like Chris Paul or anything, who's at 4.5, by the way. Ridiculous number. But it's still good, and I think he can absolutely. And honestly, I think that was higher than what I thought it was on tape. So, great tackler. He has a firm understanding of angles and leverage when approaching the line to see this is where the running back's going to be in 2 seconds, like you talked about with Moyagawa. I know where this guy's going to be at any point in the play. So he processes it, he reads it, he sheds blocks really well. He's strong. He's just an incredible run defender. He plays the run fit really well, understands what the defense wants him to do, isn't fooled by the running backs. Then he drops back into coverage, and you talk about linebackers like that, they're often traffic cones in coverage. He's not. He's always looking for work. He's always looking for something to do, and he's always making himself busy. He can carry guys, tight ends down the seam. He can carry running backs on the Texas route. He can even hold up in coverage against a slot receiver. Great zone instincts, great hips and man. He's a fantastic blitzer who has an eye for the quarterback. He's a great QB spy. He recognizes route concepts at a level that I have just never seen from a linebacker. He knows exactly what's coming from the running backs. He's also he's going to be a great special teamer you know what I mean? You probably don't want him there because he's going to be so valuable. You're not going to play him in special teams, but he is. He's always going to recognize the play action. Trick play is never going to fool him. He's 25 years old, but that also means he's a great leader. I mean, he's a leader of men at South Carolina. He's a very mature guy. You talk to him, he knows what he's talking about. This is a guy who loves football. Another thing, maybe my favorite thing about him, there's nobody who loves playing the position of linebacker more than Demetrius Knight Jr. This guy loves to hit people. That's what he's in it for. He doesn't care. It's like the video of that guy saying, I didn't want the ball. I wanted him.
There you go.
He wants to hit guys. He just levels dudes. He wants to play football. He wants to hit guys. He loves the physical aspects of the position. So that's why he's so willing to get down and dirty in the run game, hit guards, bring running backs to the ground. Negatives for him. True age outlier at 25 years old. Probably not going to get too much better, even though he could. He doesn't have the elite hit fluidity to track with. He's not going to be able to guard Christian McCaffrey 2 years ago. He's probably not going to be able to guard Travis Kelce in his prime, but nobody is except for like the best of all time. Occasionally overcommits on his gap, allowing a cutback lane, which means I saw it like 2 or 3 times. Occasionally. And missed tackle rate was plus 10%, but I really didn't see that much on tape. Those were all the negatives. He's 1 through 2. He probably has some of the best tape I've ever seen from a linebacker. And I don't know what I'm missing. His age can't be that big of an issue because, again, you can take somebody who's a 21-year-old and who's a really great athlete. Take Isaiah Simmons, for example, similar build, and he just never works out. Just never works out because this is a guy who will work out. At the very worst, he's an average starter for you for the next 5 years. So I know it's a long rant, but I just had to. I'm so confused as to why he's at least not consensus top 50 player because this is just an insanely great linebacker prospect.
You know, I am surprised that he doesn't get more buzz. He's a legit 235 pounds. He tested at that weight. 4.25 short shuttle. That's like legitimately 60th percentile. Like you said, he's not stiff. He doesn't have the elite hip fluidity, and I think I'm a little bit lower on him in coverage than you are, but Fair. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the better cover linebackers in this class. This class does not have a ton of coverage impacts, and when you pair his ability to thump, 22 bench reps, by the way, is the best outside of Teddy Buchanan, who's sort of a unique. Teddy Buchanan's actually an underrated player in his own right out of California. And Kobe King on Penn State. We've talked a little bit of Kobe King before.
I don't think he's my guy.
He benches a lot.
Does he do anything else?
Moving on.
Alliteration. Bam.
Moving on. So when those are Demetrius Knight's biggest flaws, yeah, I totally understand that. There's just not a lot to dislike about him. 80 and a third inch wingspan is among the top of this class. I think he can continue refining that ability to process. And you mentioned how he's always taking the right angle in pursuit. I think he maybe has a little bit of tackling limitations against, say, explosive, hard inside cuts.
Sure.
But look, even though he's a little bit older, he hasn't played in the NFL yet. Like, he can still get better, and he can still continue to see the game faster and faster. He has the wingspan, which wingspan is, like edge rushers, I value arm length more. Linebackers and safeties, I'm looking at wingspan. Since your chest is part of your tackling range, it affects how far you can wrap with the arms. So in terms of tackling upside, I do value that measurable a little bit, and he's got it. There is a lot to like with Demetrius Knight. It feels like when we talk about the Carson Schwessingers of the world, who's a very good prospect in his own right, people just gush about his run diagnostics and his tackling, and it's like, yeah, it's great, but where's the love for Demetrius Knight? Why are we not overanalyzing Carson Schwessinger's game? That just doesn't entirely make sense to me. Just because he's younger and declared early, I'm fully there with you. Demetrius Knight is underrated.
He's got flaws to his game, of course he does. But my thing is, like, the flaws are so very few and far between, and all the flaws you're going to use for him are really nitpicky. It's stuff that get him in an NFL camp for a month, and that will be gone. So stuff like that I'm not really too worried about. I think, yes, his hips are stiff to the point where it's like he's probably never going to be Fred Warner, but nobody in this class is ever going to be Fred Warner except for Jihad Campbell.
There you go.
Who will be Fred Warner, 100%.
Pro comp.
Pro comp, yeah. You know how I love pro comps. I do have Campbell over him for a reason because I love Campbell as well. Number 19 player in the class. He's freaking nature. But yeah, Knight is, in every sense of the word, a true NFL pro. He's going to come in, be a great player for whoever drafts him. And if you can get him at pick 70, which is the consensus right now, would you trade pick 70 for a 25-year-old above average? Would you trade pick 70 for a guy who right now is probably an average starter and absolutely has the potential to be a Pro Bowler in a year? Every GM in the league would say yes. So
I would give that pick for Jack Campbell.
Yeah, well, there you go. Pro comp?
Something like that.
There you go.
There's some similarities.
Some. And Jack Campbell got picked at 12, so.
That was kind of my
18,
point, yeah.
18.
Well, I'm terrible. Side note, I am terrible at remembering the number of the pick where guys went.
It's tough because Gibbs went to the Lions at 12,
True,
and then they traded back to 18 to get Campbell at 18.
Two erroneous reaches.
Very weird. But the Gibbs pick worked, so I got to give
and
Holmes
the Campbell
credit
pick worked too.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking good.
In my book, if you get a quality starter with a first-round pick, unless it's like a top 5 to 10 pick, and even then you're not pissed. Like, you hit with your first-round pick.
Yeah.
Just draft a good football player.
And that's the thing with Knight is when you're such a mentally polished game, you know what you're doing. He's going to last into his 30s probably. So, yeah.
All
probably
right, second. Go on.
Probably the most my guy of my guys. I also briefly like to mention Chris Paul Jr. You know how much I love him. I feel like you guys know how much I love him, all of our loyal listeners, because I talk about him all the time, so we won't spend too much time on him. But as I said, he's an elite tackle. 4.5% missed tackle rate. I've never seen a number that low.
That's wild. Man.
He's small, but he can do everything else. And
I think his athleticism is lacking, but I can only care so much.
His athleticism is lacking, but it's lacking to the point that, yeah, he's not like an elite athlete for 220, but if he was 230, he'd be a really great athlete.
That's a fair point.
So maybe you want him to put on weight, maybe you don't. I don't know. I don't understand why he can't be Jeremiah Usu-Koromoa. Like a slightly less athletic Jeremiah Usu-Koromoa. And Jeremiah Usu-Koromoa would have been an all-pro if he hadn't gotten injured. So people saying,
if he's healthy.
Where's an example of a linebacker this small working out? JOK is pretty much an exact carbon copy of size-wise of Chris Paul.
Went in the first round, right?
No, he went second round.
Oh, did he? He fell?
50 or 51. But it was because of the medicals. And Chris Paul, I believe, has a clean sheet. So, yeah, very heady player. Again, Paul, knows what he's looking at. Great tackler, fundamental in every aspect of the word, and he's a good enough athlete. He's absolutely good enough athlete. So, yeah.
Defensive backs?
Yes.
Corner or safety?
Let's do corner first.
Okay.
I'm excited to hear what you got to say about corner because this is a weird class, and there's a chance we have the same guy. Because I know.
Oh, I wonder.
Oh, if you're wondering.
Mine is an earlier player. He's probably the earliest player that I have on here.
We probably have the same guy.
It's Jacob Parrish from K-State.
No. Mine is Ben Morrison. I know how much you love
That
Ben
is
Morrison.
completely fair.
Because
Yep.
it's like I couldn't not put Ben Morrison. We're talking about guys I'm higher on than consensus. It's Ben Morrison. But Jacob Parrish, take it away. I have not watched him. He's probably one of the highest guys I have not watched yet.
So I think people imagine Jacob Parrish, who is 5'9 3/4, 191, as this sort of just quick, feisty slot option, and he brings some of that. He was a perimeter corner at K-State, and the fact is, I think that he can stick there because he's got 30 and 7/8 inch arms, 75 and 7/8 inch wingspan. Those are like just extremely average numbers. So the arm length, which helps you knock out passes, you see that in trail technique from him where he's very comfortable, does not match with the small stature. So I think he can play perimeter. He is one of the best press man-to-man cornerbacks in this class. In fact, you got Azareye'h Thomas. Maxwell Hairston didn't do it, but he looked so good at the Senior Bowl doing press coverage, but he didn't
really
do it
good
at all.
Everything. You could believe the deal.
That's fair enough. Honestly, conclusively, it might only be Azareye'h Thomas, who's better than him at just a physical press man-to-man style. What was that?
Well, I mean...
and Benjamin Morrison.
go.
Benjamin Morrison. He's so easy to forget about because of that medical cross next to his name. It's just not fair. Like, I wish that evaluation was easier because the hip fluidity is a big part of how he wins. We'll get into that conversation in a minute. Parrish is just incredibly sound. His press technique, you got to love it. He's got the quick feet, but also highly coordinated. His punches are excellent. There are some reps where he is just ready to go at the guy in front of him with the quick jam. I think I saw a play where he jumped off sides to try and go get him, which was hilarious. It's like, I love the enthusiasm, man. And he doesn't get out-muscled. Even though he's 191, he's like a strong weight room 191, put up 16 bench reps with average arm length, which people don't understand. The longer your arms are, it has a direct correlation to your bench score and making it worse. So that's why I kind of hate the bench as a football measurement at all.
It's an awful measurement.
It's by far the least valuable.
I love what you said about his strength because that perfectly... He's K-State, right? I'm not making that up?
Yeah.
Yeah. K-State's strength room is full of a bunch of freaks, man. They produce guys who are pound for pound stronger than everybody else in the class every year. Cooper Beebe, Deuce Vaughn was pound for pound really strong.
That's a great call out.
Like it seems like every year they've got a guy who's just unnaturally strong for how small they are.
And you see that throughout his game. He is physical as the routes go on, just staying in the hip pocket and using those really subtle tugs and punches to stay close, but not draw the flag very often. He was flagged a very average amount. And his comfort and sort of ability to read and feel out the break point, he had a lot of reps where he was in trail technique, and the receiver would give him a pressure stem or even throw in a rocker step, and he's just unfazed. And what would end up happening is he would close the space between them because he's fast. He ran a 4.35 with a 1.51 10-yard split. Like, it's not elite, but this is not a guy you routinely beat over the top.
And the 1.51's impressive.
Absolutely, and you see 100% of that. So he'll kind of close the space, and then the receiver will cut directly into him because the misdirection did not work at all, and the rep is dead. Like I mentioned, opportunistic ball skills, very comfortable with the ball in the air. Just a really, really good all-around run defender. There were some reps from this guy that just didn't make sense, where kind of playing like that star role on the backside. You know how if you're a perimeter cornerback and it's a stack formation to one side and you don't have like an isolated receiver to cover, you come down and play near the line. In those situations, I saw him set the edge against offensive tackles.
So you're saying he's Patrick Surtain?
I'm saying he's Patrick Surtain. I've seen Pat Surtain pro comps for him.
Oh my God!
It's really stupid, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities. Does not miss tackles. We talked about Cam Scadaboo last week. I think the guy tackled Cam Scadaboo 5 times and did not miss once.
K-State was Cam Scadaboo's worst game that I watched.
He can go low, he can go high, and no matter what he does, he's dropping you. I love his gap discipline. He'll set the edge and play the outside, play the force defender role when he needs to, but the moment that he senses he has any help to that side, he will cut inside aggressively and he will find ways to impact the play. He's always pawing for the football as well. There's one reason that he is a mid to late day 2 prospect for me. The zone coverage stuff is not good. He wasn't asked to do a lot of it at all, so it's very raw. And this is a guy who declared early, fits that trend of not a lot of people know about him. He steadily climbs up the board because people get eyes on him because they're like, well, he must have declared for a reason. They watch the tape and they see how good he is. So I would much rather teach a cornerback zone coverage than man coverage. When he's asked to roll and do a deep third, it's not great. It's like it's busted coverage potential every other play. I'm not saying he's getting killed every other play, but there's room for a quarterback to hit him deep because, say, he took the receiver that the safety had the responsibility for, and now you have a guy screaming open up the sidelines. He shows a little bit of stuff in terms of ability to be a playmaker in sort of hook zones and just kind of pounce on stuff, and he tackles really well. So when he sees it, he will wrap up the receiver. That's raw as well. He spends a lot of time covering grass and not players. But the guy's young. Reports of his football character are good. He's got things you can't teach. I see a starting cornerback at worst. I think he's an easy projection into the slot, but I think there's a real chance that he sticks on the perimeter and he could develop into a true number one. So I know Jacob Parrish is kind of a lot of people's guy in the cornerback room. I think he's projected right now as around a compensatory third-round pick, right in that 90 to 100 range. I'm good with him in the second round.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I mean, and if what you're saying is right, you bring along that zone, the one is absolutely in play. I mean, because if you can get even a guy who's got a shot at being a true one for you in the third, period, 30, and even in the compensatory stage, no, you do that every day of the week.
I think people are scouting his height.
5'9",
they see 5'9" and 3/4, and they go, "Oh, he's a slot guy."
You see 5'10", 191, is it? You're like, yeah, okay, that's not an outside guy. Well, I mean, hell, Sanders still's doing it right now.
And Sanders still is not half the athlete that Parrish is. Well, he's not a terrible athlete.
He's not half. He's not 3/4 the athlete.
There you go. All right, now tell me about Benjamin Morrison. Even though I already know about Benjamin Morrison, when we both agree that he is underrated as hell.
Yeah, man. I mean, this guy. We've talked about him a lot, and I would like to just. We also should get out of here. It's been 3 hours.
In 3 minutes.
All right. Yeah, we should get out of here. And I also have 2 other guys that I want to just say their names and we'll move on.
We promised this time.
Yeah, maybe. But Ben Morrison is the best press corner in this class. In a class with Travis Hunter and Will Johnson, he's the best press corner in this class. When it comes to mirroring a guy off the line, there's nobody better. His stance is incredible, and he gets out of it very quickly. He's an incredibly fluid athlete. I mean, this is just a guy that just not going to beat him with just athleticism. We talked about earlier in the show, we talked about route runners and how you can just win with athleticism. Well, this is one of those guys where you can't just win with athleticism, and that's why if you want to be a great receiver, you need to beat the Ben Morrisons of the world. You need to implement route running nuance. But whenever he goes up against route runners, he's going to get cooked. No. He went up. He made Marvin Harrison look like Marvin Harrison in the NFL in college. He made him look like a jump ball guy that could not get separation consistently because he just was on him like fried rice. Whatever that means.
Great com.
He was on him like
Pro-com fried rice.
He was on him like fried rice every single time. But man, he's just an elite athlete. The long speed is absolutely there. The closing speed is just incredible. I have an 8.88 athleticism score on Travis Hunter, 8.78 on Ben Morrison.
Let's go.
Overall score for cornerbacks, 8 point. By the way, this is my traits grading system. It's not actually how I feel about it's just something I'm trying this year. But overall, it's generally about accurate to how I feel about them. Travis Hunter is an 8.44 overall score. You want to know what Ben Morrison has?
16.2.
8.43.
Okay.
0.01 below. That's 0.25 above cornerback number 3, according to the scale. Ball skills, it's there. I mean, and again, I will go back to this Ohio State game in 2023 a lot. First of all, because he played his full healthy season in 2023, but also he's going up against one of the best wide receiver prospects of the last 10 years, and he was making him look stupid. He was going up there and he was fighting for the ball with him. Marvin Harrison won sometimes because Marvin Harrison wins almost every time. The fact that Marvin Harrison only won sometimes against Ben Morrison is insane. He was getting up there. When we're talking about just flicking on to the route, like Mark Schwitman of That Franchise Guy uses this term route squeeze. that I absolutely adore, and I've adopted it into my traits-based system. And he's incredible at that, which is basically just when a receiver makes the break, how quickly do you react and then stick on them in man coverage? He is sticky through and through. You're just not losing him. You're not losing him. So he's elite press man technique, elite route squeeze. And then you put him in off man coverage, and he looks a natural out there. He knows what he's doing. So, surely the reason he's a consensus second-round pick, 46th on the consensus board, is he's an awful zone corner. No. I mean, he never ran zone because they never ran zone at Notre Dame. But when they did run zone, he was making plays. He was reading the quarterback's eyes incredibly well. He knew what they wanted to do. He was recognizing the route combinations in front of him. He's breaking on the route at the correct time and anticipating what the quarterback wanted to do, what the offense's goal was. My biggest gripe with him is that he's just not a very good run defender because he's 6'1", 190. So yeah, he'll get bullied in the run game, but he's a true outside corner that I think can stand up against the biggest X's in the league. I think he's probably, without the hip injury, he'd be a top 10 grade for me. He's a true one for me. Just a fantastic player that I will always take an opportunity to talk about.
The hip injury really is tragic because I think without that, he's a consensus top 10. At worst, he is consensus top half of the first. The tape is there.
It doesn't bother me, though. And that's I don't understand why it bothers so many people, because the medicals combine, everybody's saying he checked out. They're not saying it was an official clear, right? The teams, but I've heard a lot of times teams just did not have an issue with him. There's this is not an issue for teams. And he seems like he's starting to climb back into the first round in some mocks. I saw him even at 17 to the Bengals recently. So, yeah, I hope that he comes back up there because he's such a fun player to watch. Played against the best competition and looked better when he did. So if the hip injury is nothing, he will be a great corner in the league. For 17 to Cincinnati, he should go there because he gets to slide right back into Al Golden's system, in a system that desperately needs a good press man corner. Perfect fit, perfect spot for him. Please do it, Cincy.
All right, so that's cornerbacks. We have one position remaining, which will only take us another 15 to 20 minutes. And that is, of course, the safeties. Do you want to start off?
I can start off real quick. This is kind of, I feel, do you equate tight ends more with safeties or linebackers? I mean, I know that's obviously tight ends are the linebackers of the offense. It kind of just makes sense. But I don't know. In my mind, tight ends and safeties, they make a lot of sense together. You know what I mean?
It's running backs and linebackers.
There you go. Tight ends and safeties, running backs and linebackers. Well, I feel the opposite about the safety class, how I feel about the tight end class. I love this class. There's so many guys that I can't mention today because I'm higher on almost everybody, it seems. Not almost everybody. I'm not higher on Malachi Moore.
Nor am I.
I mean, yeah. But I just love everybody in this class, so let's just mention a few of them real quick. I think at first I was lower on Malachi Starks. I'd only watched one game of him, though. So I was like, well, surely that's the same because I'm an idiot and I'm not a ball knower. But then I came back and I was like, I have to watch the full 3 games because I'm a ball knower. I ended up watching another 3 games because he was just that fun to watch. I don't think he's a top 10 player like some people were saying. I still stand by the fact that he probably shouldn't go in the top half of the first round. But you take him at 18, 19, I mean, man, this is just a really great player. Eman Warrior's a great athlete. Watts looks like he knows what he's doing if he can improve the tackling.
Love Watts.
Makuba's fun. Winston's fun. Bowman's fun. Lathan Ransom's solid. Jalen Reed out of Penn State's great. Sebastian Castro from Iowa, I thought something was there. Caleb Ransaw looks decent. I mean, RJ Mickens out of Clemson he was almost my guy. He really was. But I will say I have 3. I narrowed it down to 3. I'll say Billy Bowman and Kevin Winston were 2 earlier guys that I absolutely love, and I think they should go high. Nick Warrior's getting so much hype right now when realistically it should be Kevin Winston getting that hype. He's almost as good of an athlete and a lot better of a football player. And he's a year removed from the ACL, so I don't think that'll affect him too much. But my guy is Jonas Sanker out of Virginia.
Let's go. Okay, he's not my guy, but I love that call out.
I appreciate it. Why is he not your guy, Nelson? He should be your guy. He should be everybody's guy.
I can't resist the urge to go with a player who's projected as a UDFA.
That's fair. I mean, I get it. But
Sanker is wildly underrated.
Because he's 137 or something.
I feel like he's climbing. People are coming around.
I think he might. He's 126 on the big board. I still think he should be drafted quite a bit higher. But the people are getting the great look at the UDFAs that you're presenting, and they're getting a solid look at some of the day 3s that I'm presenting, and some names that they've heard of in day 2, but they should really be thinking about in day 1. So we got the best of both worlds. This is what the pod Balls Talk Sports gives you. We'll never miss on anything. But Jonas Sanker, he meets all of the requirements to be an NFL player when it comes to just measurables. NFL size, athleticism, like he blew up the combine, ran a 4.4, 10-yard split was real nice.
It was like a 1.51.
Yeah, I mean, that was
premium.
Insane. And it shows, man, this guy closes, he just snaps onto guys incredibly quickly in zone. His instincts in zone are just fantastic. I mean, he knows what he's looking at, and he breaks, and it's just a thing of beauty. So, like, that's really good. And then in man coverage, he sticks to guys. He just is really hard to get rid of. He's a great run defender. He can get down there in the box. He can play. I love his versatility. He's a good enough athlete and a good enough he's got great processing, good enough athlete to play back there as a single high safety. He's rangy enough, but then he's big enough and he's strong enough. He's got enough effort to put in to come down and play in the box as a run defender. You know what I mean? Where you're going to... And all of the things that I really don't like about him, I feel like you put him in an NFL defense for a camp, for a single summer. And I feel like some of these things will be worked on in a couple of years. None of these things could be around, because the things that I'm worried about are sometimes he's looking to steal one. His instincts are so good. He's looking to steal one from the quarterback too often. Sometimes a guy gets behind him and slips when he's playing in like a cover 4 and he's coming down in the intermediate zone, right? In the deep zone, obviously you don't let anybody get past you, but he obviously needs to improve the tackling. I think everybody can recognize that with Sanker.
He does detonate people, though.
Yeah.
Like, the effort's there.
The effort is there, and that's another thing I love about him. The thing that everybody has in common on this list is that they're great football players. But the other thing is that all of them have that competitive fire, that want to play the game, that want to hit guys and win and play football. They want to do it not just for the money, but because they love the game. And it shows on the field. All these guys have that in common, and Sanker's a perfect representation of that. He detonates the guys, like you said. He wants to play in the run defense. He does the dirty work. When he's coming downfield, it's great, but sometimes, I'd like to see you come down at the right angle and not the wrong angle, because he does do that a lot. But all of these things are technical things, fundamental things that I would like to see that absolutely can and have been improved many times in the NFL. And not to knock on a Power 5's coaching staff, but it's clear that Virginia's coaches really don't know what they're doing from what they've put out these past few years. It hasn't been great. Now, we go to the University of Tulsa, so we can't really talk, but the new staff's great. We're going to do great.
They're making you say that.
No.
Blink twice if you're being held hostage. Anyway, back to Jonas Sanker.
But yeah, Jonas Sanker, I mean, he checks out on everything that you need to check out on, everything that is hard to coach on, the instincts, the want to play the game, the athleticism, the size. It's all there. The stuff that you want to work on are less, the more trivial stuff, but stuff that matters. But I think it can all be worked on. So probably a rotational safety at worst. In the 4th round, you're probably okay with that, which is he's 5th, 4th round kind of guy, like most of the guys on this list are. You're okay with getting a rotational safety. I think that's his floor. I think he can legitimately be a really good starter for you, maybe even a Pro Bowler one day. I don't know if I'd take him in the 2nd round, because the tackling does concern me a lot. But man, like, you get to pick 70, I'm going to really start considering him.
Jonas Sanker actually was kind of an honorable mention for me, so I think that that's an excellent call. But I got to talk about Craig Woodson from California. And he's actually a player where I was really surprised that he was in that sort of priority UDFA range on the consensus big board.
247.
Because this is a player. How many years did he start consecutively for California? Was it only 2? He has like a pretty impressive dearth of starting experience, and he was good. He had like ball production this year. So he has started 3 consecutive seasons, 858, 944, and 788 snaps for California. He had 2 picks and 6 pass breakups this year, and he farms the tackle production as well. So I was surprised that he was so far down the board. Because he's not a bad athlete. Like, as a linear athlete, I think he's perfectly fine. I think he has the speed to legitimately lock on to an athletic receiver running a deep cross and run with him and not let him flash open for a second. However, the agility, that's actually not bad either. I think that he's perfectly fine changing direction. He'll tackle. I think he's a very sound tackler where he will square you up and bring you down with the arms if possible. However, here's a little tangent. I love PFF missed tackle rate. It's infinitely better than just looking at the amount of tackles they made. I will say that. However, it can punish players who do a good job creating low probability tackle opportunities. And one thing I really liked about Craig Woodson's game was if he was kind of at an iffy angle, like if he got pushed around in the box a little bit, he will just throw himself at your legs and he will really take a chop at, say, the knee or the calf, and he's a very good shoelace tackler. So he maximizes the amount of tackles he's able to produce, which you see in the box score. He does some nice stuff in man coverage. Not the most explosive player. It's probably his biggest weakness. His true ability to plant and drive at the ball is only okay, but he kind of makes up for it by using his hands really well during routes. Well-timed, precise, but subtle punches. So he has man-to-man flexibility. He's okay in zone. He'll see a guy in front of him. He'll snap onto him. That player's not a threat anymore. I don't think he anticipates route concepts especially well. The thing that underwhelmed me with Craig Woodson, and the reason that I couldn't give him the 4th or 5th round grade that I wanted to, is he's kind of got this overall lack of soundness around his game. Like, once or twice, he'll make very poor decisions in coverage that don't necessarily threaten over top. He's good at keeping the top on the defense, but he just, won't trigger on a crossing route in front of him, and he's giving that up, and it's frustrating. He takes really bad pursuit angles sometimes that he just doesn't need to take, and he rarely gets punished for it because he's a good college athlete. And in the pros, that's an opportunity for a breakaway touchdown. And if you're playing a rotational safety, you don't want to be giving up breakaway touchdowns. All the willingness to throw himself into the box is there. I think he takes on blocks with very good technique to dissect them with good hand usage and punch above his weight class because he's not the biggest player. Craig Woodson is 6 foot and an eighth, 200 with shorter arms. So he is
it's good enough.
He's true free safety sized, but he's not just getting mashed in the box. He really likes to throw himself into traffic, and it works more often than not, but a lot of the times subtle creases, which are potential home run lanes, open up late because he's not just this big, overwhelming, strong safety who's going to be able to stack and shed. He's kind of got to pick one side of the blocker, the other side flashes open, and that's just another explosive play opportunity, and that's frustrating. His ball production was very opportunistic, I'll say. He's got good ball skills. He almost always converts the interception when he's given the chance. He's racked up a few over the last couple seasons and hasn't dropped one in his career. He has good acumen for the tip drill. His actual, I'm going to snap onto you and bait a throw and then either knock it away or pick it off production, that's basically not part of his game. So this is a guy that he's just kind of pretty solid at everything with his experience level. Football character's good, but you wish that the soundness on the field was better. Why I like him, why he's a my guy. He's developed into an exceptional special teamer. Team captain, exceptionally willing to come down and hit. And over the past 2 seasons, because he started off terrible, he kind of got thrown into the fire. He hasn't always been at Cal. He started off at... Oh, no, he has always been at Cal. And he was just a terrible special teamer his first year. That tape is exclusively coming. I'm just looking at PFF and seeing that he missed 5 special teams tackles as a freshman. That's obviously bad. However, over the last 2 seasons, he has...
Those special teams tackles you'll miss more.
Iffy, but he's got 12 and only 1 miss in his last 2 seasons.
There you go.
That is exceptional special teams production. You're going to slot him into that role immediately. I think that he is a future 3rd or maybe even 2nd safety who is going to be a B special teamer for you, who's going to be good in the film room. You'll see me bring that up a lot because at the bottom of the roster, in these late rounds, you're just looking to extract value, and I think that that's a way that players can contribute. You get that in the priority UDFA pool, a player I really like who I think is interestingly flying under the radar, a guy who can do a lot of things well.
All right. Very nice. Very nice breakdown.
Is that the podcast?
I I think it is. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh.
That is our longest
How did that
podcast
happen?
to date, ladies and gentlemen.
Longer than the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, longer than the
How
Pro
the
Bowl.
fuck did that happen?
Pro Bowl was 2 hours 52 seconds.
I don't believe you, Victor.
I put the videos out on our YouTube, Elson.
How is this like 1.5 times as long as anything we've ever recorded?
Because we've gotten better at it, and we're ball knowers. We've gotten better at it. It was also not 1.5 times longer.
2 and 3?
2 hours 52.
Oh, you said 52 seconds, I thought.
No,
okay.
2 hours 52 minutes.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Every episode we put out is about 2.5 hours.
I thought so.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
but this is going to be our first time eclipsing 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying here. And, well, are we ready to get out of here officially?
We are ready to get out of here unless you've got a long snapper you want to talk about.
Austin Brinkman out of West Virginia.
There you go.
I
Watch
think he's
him.
draftable. He's a stud.
There
Yep.
you
Go in there, watch the tape. William Wagner,
Bam.
wildly overrated. I just don't see it.
Yeah, this is true ball knowledge right here. This is a one-of-a-kind mind, one-of-a-kind talent. Appreciate him while he's here. That is our last NFL draft episode until we do our final mock drafts. We will either do we will definitely do a what we would do mock draft, a final what we would do mock draft, whether that's 1 or 2 rounds. We've yet to decide. Thinking 2, but, it depends.
4-hour episode.
Yeah, we're going to break the record we set last week.
I swear to God we'll go faster somehow.
Somehow we're going to do it. We say it every time, but it's never happened.
Yes.
But since we are insane, we will believe it will happen. And there's a chance you may get a 2-for-1 where that we may record another episode, which is a predictive mock the same week. So we get what we think will happen, what we would do if we were in the GM's position. But those will be the last 1 or 2 episodes. So this was the less specific draft episode. It's been a journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, stay ready for a potential 2-for-1 draft week. 2 episodes, 1 week. Wow. But as always, stay hard.